Happy Moonday. What's up, Charlotte? Hey, Stacy. I'd like to get a new opening song, but yeah, this works for now. Hey, happy Monday. Hello, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. All right. Make a quick little post. Live. Tell me about your week, Charlotte. What was crazy this week? Alright. Hey, Kelly. So, happy new moon. It's definitely an interesting lunation. I'll bring up the chart and we'll definitely talk about it. I hope your guys' week was alright. Hope nobody got into any crazy ideologically motivated arguments. I was just taking a minute to listen to Gemini Brett, one of my first teachers. He's live right now talking, and he he brought up the same example. He brought up the exact same example that I used for the Mercury-Saturn square of flat Earth and ball Earth and the conflict there. What's up, Katsu? Yeah, take your time. I thought that was so funny. I was like, I was just talking about that. Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit more and about how that particular aspect is flowing through the sky. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good time. Curious if anybody has seen any of the footage coming out of Iceland of cracks going through the middle of a city as volcanoes getting ready to burst. Oh, it's Monday. Bitch, it's Moonday. What's up, Andy? Okay. So a little bit of a preamble there. Welcome everybody. If you're new here, hey, my name is Kaylee. I try to do this every Monday, usually around the same time. I've switched to 1 p.m. Mountain. It feels like a good time for me. I am a tropical Western astrologer with heavy Hellenistic leanings. Currently actually studying with Adam Ellenboss of Nightlight Astrology. Yes, it is really intense. So I'm gonna touch on that in a minute. Not that particular exact thing, but how to work with that. Anyway, Western tropical astrologer. As I'm going through the signs and talking about the individual signs, I am looking at it from the rising sign in particular. If you know your time of birth and you know your rising sign, definitely listen to the astrology based on that. It'll be the most accurate. If you don't know your rising sign, listening to your sun sign is fine. That works as well. What else do I want to say? That's pretty much it for the preamble. Until the end of Scorpio season, so there's still like another solid 10 days or so left. Use the code Scorpio15 through my website for a booking for 15% off, and that's for any booking, whether it's your first time sitting down for a natal chart reading, whether you're coming in for just an update and want to look at transits and next year's eclipse cycle, or you got a birthday coming up, you want to do a birthday reading, or you want to do a private tarot reading. It will work for anything. And yep, website is in the description box, KayleeBurkhanna.com. Hey, we be vibing. What's up? Hey, girl. Hey. I figured I would try to come in with something a little bit more soothing as far as music, and now it's too loud. Okay. All right, my friends. Got 11 in the chat. I think that's a good number to start. All right. So, new moon in Scorpio. If anybody has any stories that they'd like to share about last week's transits, in particular the Mars-Uranus opposition, or if you came across any really intense conversations or debates with the Mercury-Saturn square, I would be more than happy to talk about it and share about that. If not, that's okay. We can jump right into this week if you'd like. So this is the chart for today. Oh, that's not today's chart. That's a birth chart. Wrong one. Just kidding. Here's today's chart. Okay. So right now, this very moment, it is Monday, the 13th of November, about 1:06 Mountain Time PM. It is day of the moon, and right now where I'm streaming from, it is... Oh, is it really hour of the moon? It is hour of the... Oh, no. It should be hour of Mercury. My apologies. I thought this was set up correctly before we started. Rookie hour. Oh, really? Hour of the moon. Well, I'll take it. I like that. Hour of the moon, day of the moon. Cool. All right. So, this is our modern chart here. As we can see, the moon has actually passed the sun, so we're technically past the exact new moon, but that's okay. The moon will still be dark tonight. Mars Kazemi stuff is wild. I bet you've got a story. Weeby Vibin says, seems my authenticity is annoying others more than usual, but also my mouth was reckless. Reckless last week. Fair enough. Reckless mouth. Okay, yeah, that'll do it. Your authenticity was annoying others. Interesting. I bet, honestly, that kind of makes sense. If people were feeling into this Mars-Uranus energy, that could be enough to get on people's nerves. And then as soon as Moon ingresses into Scorpio, so just to talk about this real quick, as soon as the Moon ingresses into Scorpio, it's a really deeply emotional sign. And the Moon, I mean, okay, if you have Moon in Scorpio natally, I'm not saying that your moon sucks, but Moon doesn't like to be in Scorpio as much. It is considered to be depressed. It's called depressed. Depressed, or in another word that they use for it is debilitated, because the moon is associated with our fortune and with feeling comfortable and feeling good in our bodies and nurturing nutrition and comfort foods and stuff like that, which is why Moon is exalted in Taurus. But in Scorpio, we're faced with decay and the fear of death and these really uncomfortable feelings that nobody really particularly likes. So, couple Moon in Scorpio with the Mars Uranus energy, and yeah, I could see reckless verbal stuff causing some irritation for sure, because everybody's already kind of like dealing with their own gunk, right? Yeah, anyway. Let the fake people hate. Word. Nah, you're not that late. I'm just getting into it. You're good, Stacey. better late than fake, I always say. That's a good one. I like that. Okay. So new moon in Scorpio. Let's talk about this Scorpio energy real quick, okay? I'm going to talk a little bit about the decan that this is happening in. I'm going to talk about the card that's associated with that decan and dive into some of that stuff as well. Oh, very sick. I'm sorry, Charlotte. With the fever and bedridden. Wow. Okay. So you really needed to rest and let your body purge. Fever is very on point for Mars energy for sure. I hope that you're feeling a little bit better, and that whatever you needed to get out of your system, you got out of your system. Okay. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about Scorpio in general. And yeah, we're quite a bit into Scorpio season. I'm sure you guys have heard all about it, but I when it comes to a new moon, I like to talk a little bit about the energy of that sign in particular, okay? So with Scorpio, we are in the time of year and archetypally. So if you're in the southern hemisphere, shout out to Australia. If you guys are in the southern hemisphere, the qualities of the light right now are the opposite, which, you know, it can be confusing listening to the signs and being like, okay, well, how does that work for up here? The archetype and the ideal is still the same. So anyway, the light is fading quite quickly, right? Once we get to Scorpio, the sun is moving quite quickly across the horizon every single day as it's getting closer and closer towards the winter solstice. So as that light is fading and the dark is beginning to dominate, we get to this point with Scorpio where we're really asked to kind of like take a look within, right? Scorpio's a yin sign. This is the watery yin temple of Mars. So when it comes to, you know, feeling into the quality of the season, we are looking at things like death and decay and the spooky side of life, and the veil is a little thinner, so to speak. And a really powerful new moon like this, I wouldn't be surprised if there were people doing some pretty powerful rituals today because of that fact. Just kind of a side note for you. But anyway, with Scorpio, it's about working to heal yourself before trying to heal the world. There's this hunger and this desire that's associated with the Scorpio archetype. Each of the decans of Scorpio has to do with a different kind of stage in that hunger and that decay process. This third decan, right? Because the new moon is happening at 20 degrees and change. So it puts it over the line into the third decan. So it's not the middle decans in the third decan. That third decan is ruled by Venus in the Chaldean order and the moon according to the triplicity order. So there's two kind of ways to look at who rules the decan. I took a little bit of time to go to Austin Kopic's website. Really great astrologer. Has a heavy focus on like magic and magical workings. But anyway, he has this really excellent book that I would love to get my hands on. About the 36 faces. And until I get that book, I'm just going to have to settle for the video. He's got kind of like a several hour long video lecture on each of the decans. Anyway, in that lecture, he talks about Scorpio 3, the third decan of Scorpio, and he relates the image to a crow. Crows eat corpses. Yay, what a cheerful what a cheerful decan, right? But this is about the transformation, right, of death into life. So all of Scorpio kind of carries this theme with it, right? What are we transforming and how are we getting new life? But the third decan is really where that that final process actually takes place, right? This can be related to the compost pile, right? What is rotting and discarded eventually becomes fertilizer, right? This is how to obtain beauty and how to nurture life through death, right? That's the Venus connection there. It kind of begins in a more negative, well, from our human perspective, it begins on a more negative note and then becomes positive through the process of time and through the chemical kind of process that occurs, right? Often, this decan is associated with really tough situations and things that people have to let go of and surrender, right? And the rebirth really only comes from the process of letting go, right? You have to make room in order for the new thing to come in. You have to release the energy in order for new energy to come in, right? So it's recycling, right? Venus, uh, Venus as part of this flavor of this face. Venus often goes through an underworld journey, right? I've definitely talked about it on my channel before, but Venus going through her cycle with the sun, the synodic cycle of the sun, is reflective of the goddess archetype going through the underworld journey, right? So anyway, that same kind of image and ideas is present in this decan. So this is all about the body of desire, right? And I've definitely mentioned before before this point, Scorpio has to do with this hunger and this desire, right? Venus has to do with desire. So this is about the body of desire being torn apart and then put back together again. It's really easy to do this process incorrectly and get lost in that endless desire. There's this association with this deck and with illusion as well. It's like you can easily get sucked into just trying to feed the desire instead of letting it go, right? So I'm gonna come back and check. Andy, I love the spooks. I love the spooks. Aw, I'm sorry to hear, buddy. Everybody seems to have a sick kid right now. Yeah, you're not the only one. Anyway, I'm sorry. That sucks. Ooh. Yeah, it sounds like you were due. You were due for that detox, like Stacy said. Your grandma sounds like a badass. Ruma says, my grandmother said when she dies, she wants her body to be left in the woods for the animals to feed from. Crows munching bodies. That's pretty hardcore. Yeah, unfortunately not legal, but that's fine. Katsu's gonna donate her body. I mean, that could be fun. What kind of science? That's so funny. The Mars Uranus opposition makes me think of like a mad scientist. Oh, good. That's good stuff. Okay. So anyway, so this decan, you know what I didn't do beforehand that I should have done, and I'm kind of kicking myself for right now, is pull out the Seven of Cups. Yeah, just telling on ourselves. It's all good. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I laugh, but this is kind of it's a serious theme, right? It is a very serious theme. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable, so I apologize. I know that turns some people off, but it is what it is. Um, so yeah, so really this new moon, I mean, new moons are a seeding point, right? They're a beginning of a new cycle. But before, I mean, the whole point of this decan is yes, we can begin new things, but something must be surrendered and released first. Okay? Totally. Mad scientist. 100%. So here's the Seven of Cups. All right. So we've got this figure, and this particular deck is very similar to the Rider-Waite Coleman Smith tarot deck. So you have this figure. He looks kind of like maybe a little bit disoriented, a little bit, you know. And there's these 7 cups, and they each have something different in them. One's got like a castle. The other one's got like a, a marble head or something. One's a snake. One I always think is a mushroom, but it's like a lady in a veil. She's probably representing the veil and the maybe the feminine archetype. I'm not sure. One's got like riches. Another one's got like um the fuck do you call those? A laurel. One's got like a dragon, you know. So it's representing like riches and rewards and power. There's another key word for the Scorpio archetype: power. There's power. There's rewards, riches, sex, money. All of these things are in front of you and being offered, or you know, those are like the typical desires that people have. And which one are you gonna choose, right? How do you choose one? And to me, this card is really saying like you could drink from any of these cups if you so desire, but is it actually going to be fulfilling? Are you actually going to get it? Mm. The message I think is really that no, you're not going to get it. Also, what's up, donut? The point is that in order to gain this kind of fulfillment, and in order to actually be transformed through the Scorpio archetype and through that energy, these are some of the things that you must give up and surrender. And that doesn't mean that you won't achieve them later, right? It doesn't mean that you won't gain them later, but there's no such thing. I had this chat with somebody recently. There's no such thing as free lunch in the universe. And if you want something, you want to obtain something, there is a price to pay. Nothing is free. Whether it's, say, studying astrology, there are thousands of texts that you can get online for free. Yes, so like there might not be a monetary cost, but there is a cost in that you have to sit down and actually study the material and integrate it, right? There, if you really want to learn from a good teacher, you have to offer them something. Some kind of exchange has to take place, just as an example, right? If you want to invest and grow your wealth, for example, you still have to put in the money up front before it begins to grow. You can't just tap in and take it. It doesn't work like that. And if you do try to cheat the system, you will pay for it in other ways, right? You'll pay for it either later in this life, right? Like thievery, for example. Thieves get caught, and then they spend time in jail, or they have to pay fines, right? If you steal magically, right? If you use black magic and override someone's free will in order to gain something, to manipulate something, if you don't pay in this lifetime, you will pay in the next one, right? There is no such thing as free lunch in the universe. Anyway, so there's a solid karmic reasoning for there needing to be an exchange. Anyway, rant over. Sorry about that. With the 7 of Cups, what are we releasing? What are we surrendering? What are we giving up in order to move forward and experience the transformation that we need to go through? For some of you, Charlotte, for example, getting really going through like an intense kind of like detox like that, there was a bit of a sacrifice of your time, right? Like you couldn't, maybe, I don't know. I know you're a stay-at-home mom, so I'm sure there was like a little bit of a sacrifice for the things around the house that needed to get done, right? They couldn't get done because you needed to sit there and be in bed and allow your body to rest and flush out what needed to be flushed, right? More examples, as long as they're not making you afraid of them. Funny. Oh man. Okay, that's super cool. There's a ranch within 100 miles that is dedicated to forensics of decayed humans. That's gnarly. I want to see their birth chart. That's crazy. Okay, anyway. So the 7 of Cups. In the Thoth Tarot, this particular card is called debauchery, right? It's about destructive desires that get less and less satisfying. Exactly what I just said. There's temptation, and you have to push past some of those desires to find what is actually healthy in order to just move forward, right? Often this card comes out, and this decan is involved when people are dealing with illusions of all of the things that they want that aren't really real, right? All of Scorpio has to deal with desire and hunger. I know I said that already, but it deserves repeating. But what would actually be satisfying is not necessarily what you're craving. Not always. Not always. Especially, for example, with food, since we talk about food a lot, oftentimes what we're craving is not necessarily the healthy thing, right? Like, for example, I love sugar and bread. Um, whole wheat's obviously better than super refined stuff, but the super refined stuff taps into your dopamine receptors when we've got that fat, that salt, and that sugar all paired together, and it's super refined and it hits your blood sugar really fast. It's like a high, right? But it's not necessarily good for you. It doesn't actually leave you feeling satisfied, right? So the whole point of this decan is pushing through that, pushing past that, and kind of like experiencing the death of that desire, if you can, right? If you can. This decan can be about liberating spirit that is stuck in the body that can now inhabit other things. It's completing the separation of spirit, pulling spirit away from body, right? There's this separation and like cutting away or burning away or burning. There's also a wet process, the decomposing process that pulls the two apart, right? So this is about letting slow changes take place in a dark and closed chamber. You can think of like making beer or wine or even tinctures, right? In order to make the tincture work, you want to take that herb, that spice, that herb, and you're putting it into a medium that pulls the medicinal values out of the medicinal stuff. This is not a scientific channel, okay? But pulls the medicinal stuff out of the herb, right? But it has to be in a dark space. If sunlight gets to it, it'll destroy your tincture. Still needs a little bit of attention, right? You have to know how long that thing needs to be buried for, or how long you have to let it sit for. With beer, for example, or wine, even better. If you let it ferment too long, it turns into vinegar. You don't want vinegar, you want wine. So there's a specific scientific process that has to take place, right, with this decan, and it needs to be timed and it needs to be done correctly, or you can end up with something that is not the desired outcome, basically. Right. This is a yin process, though. It's about giving it the time and the space. It's not about forcing it. It is not about a heroic ability or action coming from your own willpower, right? You can't just like knuckle through it necessarily. It's about releasing, right? It's about working with the yin. This is, yeah, it's not something that is a quick process. I'll just put it like that. If you have a planet, let's say you have your sun or your Mercury in the last decan of Scorpio, this often gives people an excellent insight into other people's psychology. It gives people the ability to see what other people desire, right? You can understand people's underpinnings really well. What they want out of relationships, like it's really easy to see that for these people, right? And there's like this definite sense of understanding the emotional underpinnings, right? Okay. But ultimately, the power of this decan is to let go and to surrender through rebirth. There is a new form that's coming that is stronger than the original, but we have to go through this process first. Okay. So anyway, Yeah, do you have planets in Sag? It's been so long since I looked at your chart, I don't remember. So that's kind of this decan. That's this new moon. That's this process. There's more. There's a little bit more to it, right? So that's really just the decan itself, not taking into account any of the other planetary aspects that are happening, right? So we have Mars here. Mars at home in his own temple, right? Even though he is combust under the beams of the sun, because he's in his own temple, it is said in Hellenistic astrology that he is in his own chariot and therefore is protected from the malefic effects of the sun. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. I'll leave that for you guys to interpret. But Mars kind of gives us this additional kind of energy of helping us, helping the decomposition process along. So, for example, compost has to cook, right? It's a wet process. It needs to have the right amount of moisture, and it has to get hot enough in order to kill all of the pathogens and the parasites and the weed seeds that you don't want in the garden. So this is a good thing. Mars being here can be definitely a good thing. If you want to cut off, say you've got a habit, or there's like a group of people that you've been engaging with that you don't want to engage with anymore, Mars being here can assist with that by helping you to cut off and helping with the surrender process. As I was saying before, this is not necessarily an easy or a quick thing, even though Mars Uranus kind of does feel like a quick process. To me, this more feels like the quick introduction of the crisis moment, and then um, and then the process begins, right? So because of all of that, because it's, something that kind of has to take place in the dark, because it's something that needs to be, this is something that is happening within your own body, or, if you're doing any kind of like magical working or whatever, it will take time, right? The beginning of the process can come about very suddenly, very abruptly, but the gradual composting, it's got to take place over a little bit of time. Feeling these layers peel off. Whose chart? Your chart, Andy. Your chart. Ruma says, good to know. Feeling these layers peel off, sensory as well as emotional, and beginning to sort out my home again today. Too nice. Yeah, it's all good, buddy. I was just curious. Okay, so a couple more things going on here. We talked a little bit last Monday, about this Mercury moving into Sag and squaring off with Saturn immediately, right? We talked about that, and actually let me pull this up so it's easier to see. I don't know if that's any easier to see or not, but anyway, so Mercury squared off with Saturn, and I was talking a little bit. I was like, hey, it's quite likely that you're going to have some kind of debate, and there will be ideological differences, and this is not the week that you're going to be able to settle those differences, and it's so funny because I gave the example of flat earth and globe earth, right? Talked a little bit about that. And please don't let the chat dissolve into that debate, because that's not the point of this. The point is that this kind of a square in these two signs that deal directly with beliefs, Pisces and Sagittarius, it's highly unlikely that either side is going to be able to see eye to eye with the other, right? And that is very obvious on a global scale right now. I really don't think that I need to explain that any further, but how this changes, how this evolves, because the chart doesn't stay still, right? These planets, everything's moving. The next thing that is happening this week is, and actually it's perfecting over the next couple of days, is now that square has occurred, Mercury will now be making a sextile with Venus. Venus in her own temple of Libra, which is about fairness and balance and justice and harmony and beauty. So we had this opportunity to kind of come up against some kind of ideology or belief that we didn't agree with. And even if even if it's not something that can be resolved, there is an emerging opportunity this week for, you know, us to ask questions and kind of learn a little bit about the other side in in the interest of not necessarily fairness, but in the interest of just coming to a mutual understanding. And yeah, I just thought that was funny. I mentioned at the beginning that I had used that exact same example last week, and then I was just listening to Gemini Brett before I went live here, and he he brought up that same debate. He's like, "So this is a thing." I was like, "Yo," I was just talking about that. Now, one thing I will say about Venus in this first decan is sometimes this first decan of Venus of Libra can be fairly reactive, right? I'm not sure how easy that is to see, but this first decan of Libra is ruled under the Chaldean order by Moon. And Moon, as you guys know, is a very emotional planet. So this first decan, it can sometimes you can see it play out as like someone sees something that they believe is unfair and then reacts very strongly to that thing and tries to correct it. Often that leads to overcorrecting, and also it can be a really easy way for people to be manipulated if they know that you will react in this one particular way if X happens, they will do X in order to make you react, right? It's a really simple formula, but that's how it works. So even though there is this beautiful sextile, and it's like, yes, we can come to at least a little bit of an understanding, and you know, use it as an opportunity to kind of question some of our own beliefs and kind of dig into, you know, maybe why is it that I feel this way? Why do I think this way? You know, is there some valid points that the other side is making? There is this kind of like really nice opportunity there. There's also kind of exists this a little bit of a reactivity, especially with the Mars Uranus energy that we've got at the same time in the chart. So you know, just be aware of that, really. Just reading the chat here. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, I said planets at Scorpio. Yeah, exactly. So what's really beautiful about any of these debates, right? Whether it's about your religion, right? Whether it is about your belief structure about like how the world is, or you know, maybe there's some other conspiracy that you're really into. Exists an opportunity to go into the body and dive a little bit into why you feel so reactive about a certain thing. Okay, so let's say, for example, I am not a flat earth. I'm not a flat earther. But I talk with a lot of people that are. Um, Anytime that you feel so strongly about something and you really believe it and you want to defend that position against all odds, question yourself about why. You know, why? What is it that's coming up internally? What maybe fear is being triggered, or you know, there's obviously something. There's a reason why the reactivity comes out and you must defend. Um, this especially this nice sextile to Venus is an opportunity for us to kind of like look at that internally if we choose to. So yeah, I thought you were Pluto and Scorpio. I thought you were Pluto and Scorpio. Okay, anyway. So that's that stuff. Let me bring this back up here. And really, like, that's kind of the big news, the big players this week. Other than that, later on this week we have the exact square, or sorry, not square, the exact conjunction of Mars and the Sun. So they get onto the same degree. So Mars and the Sun, they move at very similar rates, very similar speeds. It takes a long time for it to be like a exact perfect conjunction. They will stay together for a little while here, but starting on Wednesday, and moving through until like the 18th, when the exact conjunction occurs, they will be conjunct. Okay, so this is something that happens every couple of years. The unusual thing, the weird thing about it, the unique part of this is that it's happening in Scorpio opposite Uranus. So 1991 was the last time that Mars and the Sun came together in Scorpio. 91. So it would have been November of 91. But at that time, Uranus was in Capricorn. So now Uranus has come around. It's been 32 years. Bam. Sun Mars conjunction in Scorpio. So you'll notice that it's only a couple of degrees off from where we are having the new moon today. So there's this additional emphasis on this decan and on the processes of this decan. And I really hope that you guys are meditating or reflecting a little bit on what exactly it is that you want to let go of and what you want to start, right? This is for Mars and Mars's cycle. This is hitting the restart button, right? You're refreshing the screen. You're restarting the computer after all the updates, right? This is quite literally representative of the rebirth moment for Mars. Okay, so it's kind of exciting. It's a little bit exciting. It's going to put a heavy emphasis on the Scorpio house of our chart. So that's kind of nice. Coming back to the chat right here. No, party in Scorpio. Mars at 4, Jupiter at 9, rising at 15, and Ceres is there too. Yeah, that's a party. That's definitely a party. Jupiter, Mars, and rising. Fun. Okay, yeah. Ruma's got a party in Scorpio as well. Pluto, Mars, Saturn. Get rid of it all. I know. Burn it. Man. Right? Just burn all the bridges. We're done. No, don't do that. Unless you need to, maybe you do. I don't know. Just throw everything out. Fuck it. Yeah, I do that too. I'm like, welp. So, yeah. I would say that there's no reason necessarily to be anxious about the upcoming Mars Sun conjunction. Even if you have, planets that are really close to that, or it is affecting your chart really strongly in some way. The anxiety is normal, but I would say to go into that anxiety and try to see like what is the deeper fear there. What is the ultimate fear that you are experiencing that's coming up? Because there is, again, valuable information that's part of that reactivity that I was talking about. What is the fear based on? Is it based in reality? If it is based in reality, then my usual advice of I play the what if game too much. Okay. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if aliens come in and take it all over and they're bad aliens and everyone forgets that they're bad aliens and they just give the aliens what they want and then what? like I'll play that game all day long. So so what I have learned to do is play with the dialectic. Okay, this is a therapy tool and an Eastern meditation tool. Okay, play with the dialectic. Two things can be true at the same time that are opposite. You know, what if this happens and this thing is true at the same time? Those bad aliens. Yeah. So sit with the dialectic. What play the game. Play it out fully. What if what if the worst fear happens? Then what? What are you going to do? But also, what if it's not as bad as you think it is? Right? Because it's really easy for people to catastrophize and think of the absolute worst case scenario every single time, okay? Um, so, I mean, that's definitely one possibility, but what if it's closer to the better case scenario? What would you do then? Or what if it's somewhere in the middle? And real life experience will often show you that it's usually somewhere in the middle. It's usually a more nuanced picture. It's usually not black and white. It's usually a little bit more gray. So always on that tightrope 100% of the time. So anyway, that's kind of my parting words, right? What if the best thing happens? Can you handle that? Can you handle the best case scenario? And I find personally when I'm in those places of like ruminating on some of the worst possible case scenarios, you know, I've got this story running in my head of like, oh, this person doesn't love or doesn't care about me because blank, 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 and I've got all this evidence. Sometimes it just takes a moment to like just sit down and be like, okay, is this actually realistic? And then challenge some of those pieces of evidence that I think that I've got, right? When you challenge those pieces of evidence, you're like, okay, this is what I think's going on, and then you give them like the benefit of the doubt and write down a couple of reasons why they might be doing it that have nothing to do with you. Maybe it has nothing to fucking do with you at all. Or, you know, maybe they do still love you, but they're angry. That can be true too, right? You can experience that. Those can be true. What if everything turns out for the best? I like that poster. So oftentimes you'll see things go down. Events will happen that feel terrible in the moment, right? It will feel terrible in the moment. It'll be very scary. You could be faced with the fear of death and total annihilation. And that is that's a real possibility, right? And we're mortal. We will die. That is an eventuality. It will happen. When that's up to a higher power. Um, that's up to a higher power. But this is an opportunity for us to sit with those feelings that come up, you know, whatever they may be, and challenge them a little bit. You know, if you are able to sit with the fear of death long enough that it no longer scares you, imagine how powerful that would be. Imagine how powerful of a mind shift that would be, that you're no longer afraid to die. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't make you like reckless and stupid and an adrenaline junkie, but hey, maybe that's your path. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. Okay. So I think that's all I want to kind of like rant about. So yeah, the Scorpio house saga continues on. It's not done. And in fact, for the next 2 years, there is going to be more of an emphasis on this Scorpio house, right? Wherever it falls in your natal chart. Because the sun and Mars coming together. It's a very powerful conjunction. It only happens about every 2 years, like I said at the beginning. And it brings like new life into that house and puts a lot of focus there. It can help us to make big changes, right? I spoke a lot at the beginning about the qualities of transformation in this decan. It can help us make some really big changes in that area. And again, I just want to emphasize one last time. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I just want to emphasize one last time that this is about surrendering something. Ultimately, there is something that we will need to let go of. And for some of you, that can be that fear of death. For some of you, it can be literal physical things. For some of you, it could be a pattern that you've held on to. You know, it totally depends on where this falls in your chart and what's going on in your personal life right now. So I'm going to start with the signs, work my way backwards. And again, yeah, listen for your rising sign because that will be the most accurate. Actually, I want. Whoop. So Pisces. Pisces, new moon followed by Mars and Sun conjunction in Scorpio in your 9th house. This will have a lot to do with your belief structures. There is something that you are letting go of. Maybe it has to do with, even it could potentially have to do with your own, like what you thought you would study or what you thought you believed. There's a bit of a purge and a bit of a changeover in this area. And this could actually signal a really powerful time for like taking on totally new studies and totally new tasks that challenge some of your beliefs that maybe you had no idea that you were going to approach before this point in life. You had no idea that you were going to go in this direction, but here you are. That's usually how it goes. So today, this new moon, along with whatever normal new moon intentions that you like to set, perhaps add in something about may the right teacher come into your life at the right time to show you what you need to see next. Oh, nice. I like that. May the right teacher come into your life at the right moment. So Pisces, what is Pisces letting go of? Ooh. Pisces. The Four of Cups, Pisces. You're letting go of complacency. You're letting go of maybe even some comforts. The Four of Cups is a Cancer card. And to me, often speaks of, being maybe complacent is a little bit too strong of a word, but maybe it's accurate. It's about having everything that you need and want right at your fingertips to the point of actually feeling like it's too much. And then there's offers right in front of you that, are have to do with the thing that you want to achieve for yourself, but you're oversaturated. Your dopamine receptors are oversaturated. You're like, why would you chase after this thing if you have everything that you need, right? Sometimes this is going to be such a Saturnian thing to say. But you have Capricorn in your first house right now, so maybe you need a little bit of the Capricorn Saturn energy. Did I say Capricorn in your first house? Saturn in your first house. Anyway, necessity is the mother of all invention. So going through a period where perhaps what you need to is go through a period where you don't have everything, right? So maybe it's time to release a little bit of your comforts. Maybe just one or two, Not all of them. Not all at once. Is that it? That's all for Pisces? Okay, I like that. Yeah. There's something here about definitely needing to like sacrifice some comforts for the sake of forward progress, but then immediately after that, and it took a little while, right? So I want to reemphasize this concept about the Scorpio energy needing to take some time. A little bit down the road, the Two of Cups comes out, which is this renewal energy of um, new passions and new emotions and new artistic energy coming forth. But first, this is what needs to be let go of first. Okay. More is more. Sometimes more is too much. Aquarius. I don't know if you guys can hear my roommate or not, but if you can, let me know. I don't think you can, but okay, anyway. Aquarius. So Aquarius, for you guys, um, Scorpio is your 10th house. Okay, so there's been a huge major focus for the last couple of years on the 10th and 4th axis, right, with the eclipses there. But now, this new moon, then following the new moon, we've got this Mars Sun conjunction in the third decan there. There's some major turnover happening in the whatever you do for work, basically, and maybe perhaps more generally speaking, how you're known to the public, what kind of sets you apart from others. There's this reset button being hit. Okay, but first there's something that must be sacrificed or let go of. Okay, that's the first phase. Phase one, sacrifice, let go. As you are surrendering to this process, be aware that it's going to take some time for this energy to really show up, and the new moon Mars new moon new Mars energy to actually like take place and show itself. But you know, give yourself some space, give yourself some time. In, for some Aquarians, you might actually discover that there's something that you practice, something that you do that is fairly public. You know, maybe there's something that gives you some kind of sense of authority. This might be the thing that you're letting go of. So, in order to pursue maybe a new duty or a more important duty, right? The 10th house has to do with our pursuit of mastery, ultimately. I want to be the very best. Dun, 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 dun. Pokemon. See you later, Andy. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so Aquarius, yeah, the thing that you're sacrificing, the thing that you're letting go of, is actually related to something that you have authority in. There is either a role or a role that you think you hold that you need to let go of at this time. And this will be powerful fertilizer, okay? Never doubt that. This is powerful fertilizer, whatever it is that you're letting go of. And like I said, it's quite likely to do with a role that you currently hold, or some kind of position of authority and power that you hold. And that doesn't mean that like you're gonna get fired or anything like that. Please don't take that as that meaning. I mean, unless that resonates, but oh, J-Lo's into the midpoints, girl. That is a deep rabbit hole. Anyway. I mean, for some of you, maybe there's some responsibility or some duties that you have had up to this point that you need to let go of. And it could be like a matter of necessity, you know, like maybe in order to take care of yourself better, to take care of your family better, you have to let go of this. But, you know, keep in mind, like I said, this is a slow transformative process that's we are all collectively undertaking. And it could very well be that the role that you have right now that you have to let go of, you think is the best that you're going to achieve, but it's not. Don't be afraid to like kind of take a step back into the shadows just for a short amount of time, because there's oh hey Sean, hey, it's been a while since I've seen you, buddy. And this is an Aquarius tapping in. What's up? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, it's not even that like this is a negative thing that you have to let go of this role or this position or whatever it is. There is something greater to be pursued. Exactly. So Sean says, for me, it is a willing let go. Good. Well, there's a choice, handing over the professional reins to others so I can pursue greater purpose. I just got crazy chills. Thank you so much for today's hug. Everybody give Sean a hug. He's a musician. Yeah. No other cards seem to want to come out, so that must be the gist of the message for Aquarius. There's a greater purpose that you are being asked to pursue, but it will require a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of surrender. One second here. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, buddy. It's been a while since I've seen you here. Good to see you. Okay. Capricorn. For you guys, this has to do with the 11th house business. Okay, so the 11th house in traditional astrology is the house of good spirit. It has to do with our friends, allies, social connections that lift you up. Okay, that's here. Wishes, your hopes, your dreams. So there is some kind of long-term goal that you've had, Capricorn, that perhaps you need to let go of or just shift. It can also have to do with maybe there is some kind of like group that you belong to or some social connections that were really helpful for a time but are for whatever reason no longer helpful. It can have to do with perhaps yeah, I think that actually really sums it up. I'm looking at what the 11th house all kind of talks about, and that's the thing that makes the most sense. So anyway, what you got for a card? So Capricorn, what you're letting go of right now has to do more cup energy, of course. So this is the Page of Cups. So Capricorn is letting go of I want to say like some kind of fledgling friendship. Fledgling friendship, or I don't know. That's a confusing one to me. I don't normally do this. Give me a second here. I'm actually looking it up. Okay, so since the Page of Cups can sometimes be referring to like a superficial or casual relationship, or something that is not super deep necessarily. It's a little bit more shallow. It could very well be that you don't have time for superficial motherfuckers. And I mean, that makes sense, Capricorn, actually. It's like, this is going to sound maybe cold and calculating, but the friendships and the connections that you make that are just on the surface, those might be what you need to kind of sacrifice and let go of at this time, because you're trying to make deeper connections. You're trying to make alliances and cultivate a network that can actually help you achieve some really serious goals. And you know what? I had a teacher way back in junior high that said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And this is very true. So Capricorn, this is what you are experiencing right now. There might be some kind of light alliances and acquaintances that it's just, it's time to maybe cut them off, or just not invest as much energy into them as you were before, because this is, and I don't think that's necessarily a mean thing. Like, these aren't like your close friends, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your homies, okay? The girls or the guys, I'm talking about the extra fluff stuff. And I think it's more about conserving energy for the process that you're trying to go through. Yeah, so anyway, I hope that makes sense, Capricorn. Since we're kind of rolling through these pretty quickly today, make sure if you want me to pull a personal card for you, that you either use the super chat function or go through PayPal, because I would love to pull some cards for people today. I think, especially on new moon energy, this would be a good day to do it. All right, so Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, for you guys, this is falling in the 12th house. So we talked a little bit about the process of surrendering, right? So for you guys, most likely this has to do with something that you do that ultimately is oh, look at that, there's death on the bottom of the deck. Ultimately, what you are letting go of and sacrificing for the new moon and then the new Mars, so to speak, is a habit that you have, something that you do that causes your own self-undoing. Okay, so this is self-sabotage behavior. This is addictive behavior. This is escapist tendencies. Whatever it might be. For those of you that struggle with drugs or alcohol, it could be like, hitting the sauce too hard. Whatever it is, this is an opportunity to use that power of Mars and use the power of this decan to let go of some kind of behavior or some kind of thing that you do that causes you to self-sabotage. I feel like that's quite straightforward. Thank you, Jack. I'll absolutely pull a card for you when we're done here. A couple cards. And if you have a particular question that you've got, feel free to drop that in the comments. Appreciate you. All right, so what is Sagittarius surrendering? And I feel like with the 12th house as well, there can be just a really heavy energy of fear and anxiety. So some of that beginning rant might apply more to you a little bit. Could be like, hey, there's actually nothing that I'm doing that is obvious that is a really self-sabotaging behavior, but maybe it's more about a mental process, right? Like maybe you ruminate too much. Or maybe you lend out resources that you don't actually have. The Six of Pentacles. Maybe you lend out resources that you don't actually have. emotional resources. Like, keep in mind, like, that yes, this is a pentacle card, but there's more than just one form of currency, right? Our emotional attention is a form of currency. Our psychic energy is a form of currency, right? Why else would people create different apps and games that do their absolute best to tap into addictive tendencies that we have in order to dominate and monopolize our attention, right? So maybe there's something that you are doing or paying attention to or thinking about, right? Like, we have that saying that certain people live rent free in our heads when we think about them all the time. Maybe it's something like that, right? That's what you're letting go of. But I mean, underlying this, there is like this really beautiful spirit of generosity associated with this card. So this isn't all a bad thing, right? Like, what you're letting go of is ultimately something that is maybe there's a really beautiful reason or a really beautiful what's the word I'm looking for? There's a generosity, an altruistic reason for some of the things that you're doing. Um, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? And it's honorable, it's kind of beautiful, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're keeping some of that energy for yourself, right? For your own well-being. So, that's just something to kind of think about. What kind of behaviors are you exhibiting? What kind of things are you thinking about that you spend way too much time thinking about when you could be spending that energy and those resources in a better, more productive way? Okay. Scorpio. This Scorpio is really cool for you. Okay, so happy new moon. Happy birthday, Scorpio. If you have Scorpio as your first house, you're a Scorpio rising, then this is a very powerful week for you in regards to kind of hitting the reset button on your whole life, okay? So, really powerful. Mars as a Scorpio rising is your chart ruler, right? It represents literally you. If up until this time you've been feeling very drained of energy, maybe you don't have a lot, you just don't have a ton of energy. You don't have a ton of resources mentally, physically, emotionally for anybody else's BS, basically. Um, be kind to yourself because you are going through, a a process of renewal here that only happens every 2 years, and it just so happens to be happening in your first house. So, there's a ton of stuff that could be going on with this, but I'll sum it up as you personally need to surrender something. You're letting go of something, and whatever it is that you're letting go of is helping you make room for a totally new chapter in your life, okay? Totally new chapter. Just want to open a thing real quick here. Sorry. Yeah, think of this as like a totally new beginning, okay? A renewal of body and soul and spirit, right? This should be a total, like a revamp on your vitality, so to speak. Oh, cocoon stage. 100%. 100%. So, what is Scorpio letting go of? You're letting go of anxiety and fears around how am I going to survive this? Around how am I going to provide for myself? So yeah, you got the five of Pentacles. There's a very real fear and anxiety associated with this card. That's what you're letting go of right now. So yeah, some of you quite literally could be going through like a physical renewal. Okay. Some of you might be experiencing the renewal in different areas of your life. Since this is happening in your first house, it could literally be anything, which makes it not very easy for me to predict. So that's a thing. But yeah, for the Scorpio risings out there, give yourself some extra grace, right? Give yourself some extra time. Let go of your need to plan everything down to a T. The other thing about the Five of Pentacles is that it is about the need to have a plan. Sometimes, in my own experience working with Scorpios and dating Scorpios, they need to have a plan, and they need to have a plan in case that plan doesn't work, and they need to have a plan for the plan for the plan. It's like, yo, calm down a little bit. Give into the surrender. So I'm not saying don't have a plan, okay? Keep with your plans, all right? That's fine. But maybe there's something here about needing to surrender to the flow, right? There could very well be things happening around you that you have absolutely no fucking control over. I J-Lo has worked with Scorpios very closely. Maybe there's something going on around you that you have no control over, right? Releasing the need to control could be a part of this, right? Releasing a need to micromanage everything could be a huge part of this. Play that what if game that I talked about earlier. What if it all works out for the best, right? What if that first plan actually works out just fine? Or what if your plan actually sucked, which you might not know at that moment, right? Maybe you don't know that your plan sucks, but partway through executing it, it's like, wow, okay, the way that it was going before actually was better. You don't know. Sometimes there is, okay, no, let me rephrase that. There is a greater power at play. I like that. Today's card was take a breather. There is a greater power at play, and there are factors and variables that you will never be able to comprehend. Okay. Perhaps this new moon and the Mars synodic cycle, the Mars Cazimi, is trying to get you to let go of that need to be the one that is always in control and always planning all of the things. Try it out. Don't freak out. Try it out. Take a little bit of a breather. You know, there could very well be a better solution to whatever it is that comes out that only only reveals itself to you after you've taken a moment to just fucking take a chill pill, right? Remember what I was saying at the beginning about this decan being a slow process, right? That this is a slow process. The beer doesn't brew in 2 hours, okay? It takes a couple of days. The wine takes some time to develop its flavor, right? If you've ever had wine that was still really green, it's gross, right? It takes time, and this process happens in the dark, right? This is a yin sign, a feminine sign. It's not something that you can just go out and do and achieve and take by force through your own willpower, right? It's gonna take. So take chill pill, Scorpio. That's all I gotta say. Take a chill pill. Libra, how is it to have Venus back home? Does that feel nice? It should feel nice. I mean, on one hand, nice, but also now there's all this stuff you got to clean up and take care of, and that can be a little bit frustrating, but good at the same time. You know what I mean? I went to a Libra, a new friend, a Libra son's house on the weekend. And it was really fun just to sit back and observe the Libra in action. It was fun. It was really fun. And like Libra is like the master of social niceties, okay? And it's we kind of make fun of it as astrologers a little bit. We make fun of it a little bit, but it's really beautiful to witness. They made scones. There was a little bit of wine, snacks. It was like, do you want us to bring anything? No, 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 no. We still brought stuff, okay? Because even when Libra says no, don't bring anything, still bring something, okay? Because that's just the 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 culture, okay? So we brought something, and it was a good time. Anyway, Libra, this renewal process, this surrendering, letting go, and renewal process is happening in the second house. So new moon today, and then the new Mars, so to speak, the Mars Kazemi. This can be an intense process, right? The second house has to do with, well, speaking of food, food, our values and valuables, right? Our possessions and the things that we hold dear to us. So I think the biggest thing that I would say about that, also in Hellenistic astrology, the second house was called the Gate of Hades. It's kind of gnarly. The second and eighth house, the Gate of Hades, or the idol place. It's they don't treat it the greatest, but there could be something here about needing to let go of maybe some one source of income or an investment or some kind of acquisition that you have, or perhaps something that you really want to grow, but it's just not working. Whatever it is that's just not fucking working, let that go, because something new is trying to come in that actually will gain and grow and blossom, right? There is like this rebirth energy here where we are, well, you guys in particular will be experiencing something, maybe being given a gift, maybe you come across it of your own volition, something that will grow in the future. There will be some kind of like some gain that comes from it. But as I've said before with the other signs and at the beginning of this, it's going to take some time. It's this is going to require some careful cultivation. Okay. There might even be some kind of helper or advisor or some kind of person that comes in with some aid that is like willing to help you get something off the ground, which is kind of cool. Like this is definitely there's definitely some interesting astro weather here for, you know, startup energy, right? Oh, what's up, Branch? I believe. Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, always bring something. It's just polite. It's just polite. And oh, you showed up at 222. What's up, Joshua? Good to see you, buddy. You just missed Scorpio, but that's okay. Anyway, Libra. Y'all remember to lovingly tap that like button. Help me help you. Anyway, Scorpio. Libra, not Scorpio, Libra. Like this is the kind of energy of like, oh, the teacup broke, but that's okay because I really wanted to buy this really nice set. It's like, oh well. And I mean that's a really kind of like light and cheerful kind of example, but it's the second house. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's really intense, but you know it might feel kind of intense in the moment. So, damn. All right, so Libra, why you gotta hit me up with these crazy cards? So Libra got the Ten of Swords. Not happy. No. All right, Libra. So what do you need to hear right now? What are you letting go of that feels like pulling teeth? You know, it kind of feels like there's a major. Okay, here's the thing about the Ten of Swords. It's fascinating to me where it falls in the archetype, or in the, not on the archetype, in the wheel. The Ten of Swords is the last decan of Gemini. which is right before the summer solstice, right? So right before the ultimate victory of the sun. So this is representing the death of the Sun King, right? That's who that figure is supposed to be on the ground there. What is coming to an end in your life, Libra, that if it had continued to grow would have been extremely detrimental? Okay. And considering this has to do with the second house of possessions and finances and all of that stuff, this could be like, I'll give you an example. Okay, so and it's a very Scorpio example. So let's say you're trying to grow a tropical plant in your house. You've been planting these seeds and it seems to be going really well, but it just is not working. Or perhaps you've got this really cool like tree growing, and then it just dies. But the reason why it's dying is because it's getting like root rot, or there's some kind of like fungus, or there's something that's making it sick. So you don't want to keep cultivating that sickness, right? You want to get rid of it, start over again. So perhaps with whatever it is that you end up with whatever it is, whatever possession of yours or whatever value, even you can take this and apply it to your values. That it seems cool and nice on the surface, but there's something underneath that is like rotten. There's something underneath that is it needs to be cut out. It has to be let go of. And it's like, this is the kind of thing where like there's no saving it. There's no saving it. You have to just get rid of it, like straight to the dump. Like a super invasive species has taken root, and it's not medicinal and it's like poisonous or something like that. Something like that happens, right? Yeah, that is something small and kind of funny. It's like, okay, all right, well, I'll just change over my email because clearly you just want more money from me, and I don't want to give you any more money. And this was a great thing, but get out of here. That's so funny, J-Lo. J-Lo cracks me up. I love her. All right. So anyway, Libra, I hope for you guys that once this thing breaks, or once this thing uh, is taken out, that you will feel the relief that I feel putting the card away. Right? It's like, yeah, get rid of that thing. You get rid of the rot and the black mold or whatever. And then it's like, oh, I can actually breathe better. And it's so funny because this is one of those things where you might not even realize how detrimental it is until it's out of your environment. And then once you've cleaned up your environment, all of a sudden you feel better. And it's like, what's going on? All of a sudden I'm healthy again. And the only thing that you changed was getting rid of something. That's the kind of energy that we're talking about, Libra. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. Oh, J-Lo, you're the best. Okay. We're going at a good speed. I like this. This is fun. One card is fun. One card is not too complex. All right, Virgo. Virgo. Speaking of cleaning up the environment, Virgo, this for you is happening in the third house. The third house is known as the house of the goddess. So the third house has to do with our guests, neighbors, siblings. It can have to do with our friends, our relatives. It has, the third house is actually like, it's got quite a lot going on in it. The third house is also the joy of the moon. So even even though for this new moon for today, the moon doesn't really like being in Scorpio, at the same time there is a little bit of joy that the moon gets from being here. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag for you guys. It's like, yay, new moon, boo, but also yeah, let's clean up our environment here. And I really love this. I love this scheme actually. Okay, so just roll with me for a second. Okay, so Virgo is known for their cleanliness, right? They're known for keeping things clean and organized and all of that stuff. Well, their third house that represents their environment is Scorpio. They know the value of a deep cleaning, and in fact, they have to do deep cleanings because third house is Scorpio for Virgo rising. Anyway, that kind of stuff cracks me up. Okay, but anyway, other than like our neighborhood and our local environment, this can also represent like short journeys around the block and through the city, town, or village or whatever that we live in. It also has to do with like our local customs, social customs. I was just talking about how good Libra is at social customs, but for you guys, the focus is here, okay? Um, oh, you're sweet. See ya. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'd be curious about what was going on in your second and your third house. Oh, I didn't change the thing. My bad. Sorry, guys. We're talking about Virgo. All right. So anyway, so with this new moon and this new Mars energy in the third house, right? This slow composting process, this slow brewing process, right? This transformation that's occurring here. Um, could very well be that something happens very quickly, but the ultimate process between the initial active surrender and the actual final complete transformation might take some time. So be patient with yourself. This could happen specifically with like a vehicle or something that you use to get around, right? This could be actually something that you witness happening in a sibling's life, right? Or I don't know, something. Yeah, I'd say a sibling or a friend's life or even a neighbor's life. Like you very well could witness something go down with your neighbors where maybe some neighbors get have to like move and leave, but maybe there was like some kind of toxic relationship there, or I don't know. I'm kind of making it up as I go here, but um in a more general sense, how you could use this specifically for your advantage here is if there's something in your local environment that needs to be cleaned up, this is a fantastic energy for doing exactly that. So cleaning up, maybe there's more trash on the street than what you'd like to see, right? Organizing some kind of get together with your neighbors to clean things up would be a great way to use that, right? Also, I'm curious about what Gavin Newsom's chart is because there was just that thing today where they cleaned up San Francisco. I wonder if he's a Virgo. And like how spot on for the energy. Like the reasons why he's doing it suck, but just the idea of cleaning up the homelessness and the debris, and apparently San Francisco has poop in the streets. Literally cleaning up the Scorpio element off of the streets is very kind of like in tune with this energy today, or this energy this week anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I said the reasons suck. Okay, I said the reasons suck. Yeah, where did the people go? Who knows? So that is that is not the discussion for today. It's an analogy. But yeah, the people obviously went somewhere. Where? Who knows? Probably shipped off to another city. Honestly, um, camps maybe. Don't know. Anyway, Virgo. So don't do what Gavin Newsom did. Because that kind of feels like just sweeping it under the rug, right? Like this isn't really a problem. We're just sweeping it under the rug, and definitely don't do that, Virgo. This is not a time to sweep things under the rug. This is a time to like legitimately purge and Don't eat the cheap burgers. Don't. Oh my God, Stacey. So, you think they're going all soylent green over there? Ooh. Poor Virgo. Yeah. Anytime now. A card would be great. Third house, Virgo. What are you letting go of right now? What are you surrendering? Wow. Okay. I got the Seven of Cups. Fancy that. Great. I wanted to get more specific with you guys, but instead you got the card that literally represents this decan. Okay. So let's recap a little bit about what this card and what this decan is about, all right? So the Seven of Cups, also known as debauchery, all right, in the Thoth Tarot. This is about letting go of our destructive desires that are not actually satisfying. All right. This is about pushing through the temptation to find what is actually healthy. All right. There is a lot of illusion. So maybe you're actually learning to see through illusions, right? What is. I'm going to come back to that. So what is maybe. Actually, this is perfect. So, what is in your environment that reflects your mind state, right? They do reflect each other. Your mind state is a reflection of your environment and vice versa. Especially when it comes to like your living quarters, right? Your room, your kitchen, you know. And Virgo knows this very well. I just touched on that. And it's amusing to me that Scorpio is their third house because it's like they know the value of a clean environment and getting rid of things. Okay, so anyway, what is in your environment right now that you need to let go of or surrender and get rid of because it is negatively impacting your mind? All right, think about it this way. And perhaps if you've been struggling at all with your mental health, you know, if you've been getting really lost in kind of like some escapist behaviors, and like going down conspiracy rabbit holes can be a coping mechanism. I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm kind of calling people out right now. Okay. The doom scroll on the phone is definitely a coping mechanism. So anyway, what are you doing right now that is not helpful? What is in your environment right now that could be cleaned up? Maybe it's time to do your your fall cleaning if you haven't already. But ultimately this is about just pushing past the temptation of the easy thing, the fun thing, the sweet thing in order to find what's actually healthy. I don't think that this is about necessarily, well, actually, no, because the sun is involved. What I would say, Virgo, for you specifically is as you're doing your deep clean, get as much sunshine into your space as possible because this is going to help you identify, you know, what needs to go and what can stay. And shine a light into the really dark places. Shine a light into the really dark places. I heard a really cool suggestion from a psychic once, and I really liked it. She said, every now and then I go around my space with like a rag, a cloth, a rag, or whatever. And as I'm dusting things, as I'm removing the cobwebs and whatnot, I'll have like a few essential oils, so an essential oil mix or whatever that's on the rag. And I bless the space as I go. So I'll wipe in the corners with that essential oil and I'll bless the space, right? Maybe this is something that you can do for yourself that is a way to like kind of work with the new moon energy and the Mars Kazemi in your third house to like really kind of imbue this powerful spiritual energy into your space and kind of work with the energy of cleaning up right? Yeah. Yeah, dude, get your gutters done. 100%. Get your gutters done. We don't need any floods. Yeah. Um One thing I will say about that though is not everything needs to be cleaned up right away, especially since we're working with this energy of things happen in the dark. Things like leaves, leave your leaves, leave them where they are. Um, they can be on the grass, that's fine, or you can blow them or rake them all into your garden as a natural mulch, a natural free mulch, might I add. It makes a really rich soil underneath. So, just kind of speaking of composting, um, it's every time you get rid of a bag of leaves and you don't put it in your garden, you're giving away free material, free nutrient, nitrogen rich material. So, anyway, the secondary rant of the day. All right. All right, who are we on? Leo. All right, Stacy says, yep, she does think they're doing some Soylent Green thing. I've seen some math about the amount of beef sold. Yeah, fair enough. Um, Remember that there's a lot of filler in beef patties that are sold in restaurants and especially fast food restaurants. There's a lot of like bread and stuff added to it too, so they don't have to use as much beef. Anyway, just putting that out there. Anyway, nice, nice, nice. Yeah, totally. I'm just saying. You inspired me to save the bees. So yeah, like the the piles of leaves and stuff around your yard, bees and ladybugs and other beneficial insects will sleep in those piles. It's a good time. Okay, Leo. So Leo, this renewal process, this surrendering and renewal and transformation process is happening in the fourth house, and I am losing my voice. Losing my voice. Okay. So, the fourth house, the anchor, so to speak. The anchor, the subterranean realm, the root as oh my god, the root as my first teacher Gemini Brett would say. So this represents our home, our property. It can oh my god. I know you guys can't hear that, but my roommate just started singing a really funny song. Anyway, home, property, family, ancestry. It can be our literal physical property, or it can be our past life. You know, if you enjoy that kind of trip, we could be talking about past life stuff or our grandmothers, and things like that. The fourth house is especially tied to the father, because in the past it was a mystery about who the father was. It's not necessarily very obvious, unless super strong genes. Anyway, it can have to do with the past. It can have to do with mysteries. You know, the fourth house is pretty. It's a very hidden house, right? It's literally at the root, the bottom of the chart. This is our foundations. You know, if we have generational wealth, it can be seen here. It's our inner private life as well. Okay. For some of you, this is kind of like a renewal in some of your occult studies, actually. Like I would not be surprised if there were some Leo risings out there that are literally going through some kind of initiation at this time, right? Secret initiations are absolutely a fourth house thing. Bow bow. But you're surrendering something. Something has to be let go of in order for this to move forward. In order for the desired transformation to occur, there's something that must be surrendered, given up, let go of. You know, in order to provide energy for the transformation itself. Oh, that's so sweet. So for those of you with Leo children, probably doesn't have to do with an occult initiation. But hey, who knows? She could be into the woo. I don't know. Um, oh, that's so sweet. I love coloring. I'll still color. Need some coloring pencils. Um, what do I want to say about that? Okay, so let's take the perspective of it being a teenager. Um, so here's the thing about the fourth house. This could be a really interesting kind of like internal process that's happening, right? Where you're Scorpio in the fourth can be a deeply emotional place, right? So it's like your home life can be deeply emotional. This could be experiencing like something around the property in particular, or it's a family member, like a really close family member, going through their own kind of transformation process and like a renewal of their vitality in a sense. For some of you Leos, this is more about I don't know why my mind just went blank for a second there. This is about maybe there's something that why okay, I will go there. Considering we're in Scorpio season, and considering this is a very like occult, mysterious house that we're talking about, some of you might very well experience some like I get the image of like the veil being pierced, so to speak. So some of you might quite literally have like a spiritual encounter with a dead relative or something like that. Might not be so extreme for a lot of you, but definitely that's a possibility. And it can be something as simple as like uh, there's a character on a TV show that reminds you of your father or your grandmother or something like that. Or it could be like you're out walking and you see a crow and it's like the crow for whatever reason reminds you of grandma or like something like that, right? There's it can be really subtle. It doesn't have to be super obvious and in your face, but I kind of feel like it is kind of sparking off this internal journey of maybe self-discovery, right? And maybe even like self-discovery in the way of like what kind of makes you feel afraid or feel like you can't come out of your shell. And I kind of get the sense of like there's something that might come up this week that gives you the courage, to venture forth out of your shell. All right, so what is Leo sacrificing or giving up right now? What do they need to surrender? There it is. Oh, okay. Again, the Five of Pentacles. All right. So for Leo, for you guys, this is about releasing fear, right? Acknowledging what it is that you are deeply afraid of. You know, what are some of your deepest, darkest, most secretive fears, and letting go of them. At least one. At least one. Not all of them, you know, and that's a lot easier said than done. But why is it that you react so strongly to certain things? Perhaps there's a thread there to pull. And if you're struggling right now, or if it is something that is rooted in past trauma, then like sit with a professional, you know, sit down with a professional. This would be a really good time to make an appointment, to, you know, maybe even do like a past life regression or something along those lines, to kind of like dig into why this particular thing makes you so reactive, and what is it about it that you can learn from. Like there's an opportunity there for healing, there's an opportunity there for renewal, but there is definitely like some kind of very basic fear, very basic, probably rooted in trauma, thing that's going on in the psyche and the subconscious that wants to come to the surface. And the Mars Sun conjunction right after the new moon is like kind of a perfect ideal time for you to release some of that energy. Like I was saying in the beginning here, I'm just going to go back to my text up here. This can be about releasing stuck spirit, right? Releasing spirit that is stuck. And this new form that comes after this process is completed is stronger than the original. So if you are brave with this process, if you are, if you're brave with this process, if you're brave with this process, you'll come out of it on the other side a stronger individual. Okay? Okay. Cancer. Cancer, Cancer. All right, Cancer. So for you guys, Scorpio is the fifth house. Ooh, the fifth house of romance and joy and pleasure and artistry. I want to emphasize artistry. So what is it that you are letting go of and surrendering in regards to maybe some of your feelings around having kids, for example, or you know, your fear of success around your own artistry, perhaps. I saw a really interesting exchange on the telegrams in one of the groups not terribly long ago about ultrasounds. What you you need me to do a progress reading for you, JLo? You know where my website is. Yeah, okay, anyway, so bringing it back to that. So yeah, okay, so this conversation that I witnessed was about a generally accepted practice in modern medicine of ultrasounds, and how ultrasounds have increased over the years. We used to do just one to like make sure that the baby was, you know, healthy and confirm gender and all that stuff. And then now there's like way more that we're doing voluntarily or suggested by doctors. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. And how this might actually not be all that healthy. It might actually be really unhealthy, right? Is, you know, this is not a really well studied, or if it is well studied, it's not well published, or, you know, whatever. It's kind of like just an accepted risk that we take to do this practice of ultrasound. So anyway, fifth house, we're talking about children. Is there some kind of like fear that you might have around children or having children at your age or whatever? Like they were saying in the chat, just to kind of bring it back to that for a moment, in the chat they were saying that it is kind of generally accepted now that if a woman is over the age of 35, the pregnancy is considered high risk. And I, as a 32-year-old, I'm like, excuse me, what? My clock is fucking ticking, bro. But anyway, um, there's more to this house than just children, though, right? Our creative energy is largely in the fifth house. It's not completely in the fifth house, but it is largely seen from the fifth house. This is a complete renewal process. There's a complete rebirthing process happening around our creative energy in particular. Like if you were doing like Kundalini practices, this is a powerful time for experiencing kind of intense releasing of that kind of energy, right? If you were to time it around this as a Cancer rising, definitely, you know, huge, huge is huge. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Well, they would still tell you, if you wanted to know, they would still tell you the they wouldn't say the gender, they would just say the sex of the baby, right? Okay, so anyway. Yeah, I bet, Stacy. I bet. What else do I want to say about this? Oh yeah, okay, so because this house is so deeply intrinsic to the creative process, honestly, especially for Cancer rising, use that emotion, use that deep, intense emotion and the tie that you have to, you know, the pulse of the world being ruled by the moon, and use this as a cathartic release, right? Whatever fears you have, whatever anxieties you have, whether they're based on reality or based on something you heard or based on past experiences, whatever it is, take those experiences and express them through your art. This is a powerful time to do so. Okay. JLo's having some troubles in the chat. You're so sweet, JLo. Okay. I want to bring this up. So, by the way, the fifth house is considered to be the house of good fortune. That's what it's called. It is things, in addition to like children in our creative life, it happens to be like what happens or adds to a foundation of a person, something that adds to the home, something that adds to the property. Hedonism and gambling can definitely be seen in this house as well. Like it can be like the quick win, the fast reward, right? So again, with this decan being the 7 of cups and all about trying to push through temptation to not get lost in, you know, basically giving our energy away to things that aren't actually helpful for us. Just be aware of that as we're like going through this week and we've got this new moon and the Mars Sun Kazemi, like be super intentional about where you're channeling that energy. That's why I'm suggesting to put it into your art. Right? Put it into something that's for you, that's not for anybody else. Right? You're not getting sucked into anybody's conversations and loose fests. Right? You are putting your energy and spiritual energy into something that's going to be helpful and cathartic for you. Okay? That's for Cancer. Okay, so what do we got for card for Cancer? Especially if you've got people out here telling you that like you can only express yourself in certain pre-approved ways based on this super antiquated ideas based on some bullshit. I'm trying to be vague, but Stacey knows what I'm talking about. Hello, Jaylee. Happy new moon in Scorpio. All right, so Cancer, what do we have for a card for you? Wow, death. I'm surprised. I thought this would come out much sooner. All right, so we have the death card. So this is the card for Scorpio. So yeah, there is there I mean, obviously for everybody there is kind of this transformation energy going on right now. But for you, Cancer, in particular, with the new moon in your 5th house, um think of this as like a rebirth for your creative true self. All right, this is an opportunity for you to infuse some beautiful new energy into to your life. But again, there's death always brings rebirth. Exactly, 100%. Keep in mind that there is something that must be let go of, something that must be sacrificed. There's a surrender that needs to occur before death can do his job. Well, that is part of death's job, I guess. Yeah. So whatever it is that comes up for you this week that, I'm sure it'll be kind of obvious, right? And it could be something as simple as like, you know what? I have kept all of my art projects for the last 10 years. I need to get rid of some. You can sell them, you can give them away, or you can like use them and recycle them into new projects. Do something like that if that's what's coming up. But yeah, Stacy says release, 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 100%. Yeah, just remind yourself this week if things kind of go sideways for you, or you're in the middle of the chaos. Just take a deep breath. This too shall pass, and whatever is I'm letting go of right now is feeding my next adventure, my next project. Gemini. So Gemini, for you guys, the new moon and the Mars Cazimi is happening in your 6th house. So, what is the 6th house? The 6th house is known in ancient astrology as Malefortuna, aka bad fortune. So it sounds like a scary house, and honestly, it can be. It's associated with conflict and enemies and sacrificial work and hard labor, right? It's considered in modern astrology, they call it the house of health, which sounds so nice, but it's but it's because it's the house of disease and sickness. So health is just like a sugar coated way of saying the same thing, basically. Um, but it is the labor that we perform prior to completion, right? It is the joy of Mars, actually. So this is kind of neat. This is kind of neat as you guys are going through this kind of reset, this like doubly kind of potent reset here with the new moon and then the Kazemi. Mars is in his joy. So not only is Mars in his own chariot, he's in his own temple, he's in his joy. So it's a super powerful Mars for you guys. So would not be surprised at all if Gemini in particular was experiencing maybe some inflammation related things, fevers, like quite literally Mars related. So inflammation and heat related stuff. But we're heading into the release point, right? We're heading into the yeah, we're in the middle of the phase where we're being cooked, right? So I've been using the analogy of compost quite a bit because it's a great friggin' analogy. Compost has to get hot enough. It needs to be wet enough, and it has to get hot enough in order to cook out all of the bad bacteria, all of the fungus, right? You want it to get so hot that it kills all of the seeds that might be in the soil. Once it's done cooking, and this process takes time. If you put soil onto a garden that is still cooking, it's still too hot, it will literally kill your plants. Okay, so it takes time. It takes it's a lengthy process, right? Sometimes you got to stir it. Sometimes you got to add more brown matter. Sometimes you got to add more water. It kind of depends what is needed to adjust the formula to get it right. But this is the process that you're in right now. All right, the labor prior to completion. All right, this is the work that you do, that you were bloodied to do it, but it's the joy of Mars. So take heart, right? Take heart if you're experiencing sickness, or a family member is experiencing some gnarly sickness. Just be with them to comfort them, help to kind of ease the Mars energy a little bit, but keep in mind that something is trying to cook, right? Something is trying to renew itself. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like that's fast. Like that's fast. Horse needs a lot longer, right? So, yeah, it's way too hot. Chicken's way too hot right out the gate. Usually. So, it's such a good example though. It's perfect. Okay, anyway. Oh my goodness, I did it again. I'm so sorry, guys. We are on Gemini. Okay, what does Gemini need to release? The sixth house can be associated with like your employees if you own a business, or other. It's the daily toil and drudgery of your actual work. So like 10th house can talk about career, but it's more about like what you're known for and the responsibilities that you take on. The 6th house is like actually executing those duties and the fine details that go along with executing those duties that they don't exactly always tell you about in the job interview, that kind of thing. So what is Gemini releasing? Almost everybody so far has gotten a card that directly relates to some kind of aspect of release, or that's like the theme of the card in some way, so that's kind of interesting. Anyway, Gemini, you got the 8 of Cups. So 8 of Cups is quite literally about leaving some kind of situation, or some kind of situation or even relationship behind because it wasn't fulfilling and emotionally or spiritually satisfying. There is this idea that you've reached kind of like the next level, right? That's kind of what the 8 represents. The 7, in the 7, you're being tested, which is where this decan is, where this new moon is, this third decan of Scorpio. You're being tested. The 8 comes out. It's very clear that you have succeeded with that test. You've passed the initiation. And now it's time to kind of like take that knowledge that you've gained and do something with it. The 8s are often associated, I feel, with like a change or a turn in the direction that you're headed. Okay. So previous to this point, maybe this has to do with some kind of work situation, perhaps, since we are talking about the 6th house. Previous to this point, there has been some kind of labor that you were involved with that was not satisfactory. It was not fulfilling. Maybe they were asking too much of you physically, maybe emotionally. Maybe they were asking you to do stuff that was way outside of what you originally signed on for, or something like that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't challenging. It wasn't fulfilling. You weren't being rewarded appropriately. So now it's time to move the F on. Find something that actually does kind of feed your soul in a different way. and give yourself time for the things that really matter in life. Maybe this has to do with adjusting the work-life balance. You know, maybe you need more time to be with your kids, or pursuing some kind of like side artistic thing, or whatever the case may be. Um, you're definitely in the process of cutting something off and surrendering something so that you can pursue a more fulfilling path. So that's the Eight of Cups. Just confirming the astrology. That's usually how it goes. Okay. Don't forget the banner, Taurus. All right, Bull Gang, what you doing? Bull Gang. Excuse me. So for you guys, new moon and Mars reset in the 7th house. So 7th house of relationships. Not just relationships though. So here's the thing. The 7th house, sometimes called the descendant, sometimes called the rest. Gemini Brett calls it the rest. This house was originally called Deuces. It's a kind of a funny word, and it means to plunge, to sink, or to dive into. It means to clothe or to robe. Kind of a fun kind of way to think about it. It has to do with marriage, yes, relationships, sex, social intercourse. And interestingly enough, the 7th house is associated with worship to the gods, where the things that we do, the rituals and ceremonies that we do that lead to spiritual ecstasy, right? This house has to do with consummation and completion of matters, right? It is the finish. It is the end point. It is the end of toil and work. It's sometimes associated with death even. Things like business partners, lawsuits, and open enemies did come later in the practice, but yeah, it is ultimately about it was sometimes called the faithful place, as it surrenders that which it receives, and is sometimes associated with spirituality. So it's interesting because it's like sometimes we only associate the 7th house with things like marriage when there's actually so much more to it than that. So really, Taurus, I feel like you are diving into further meanings of this house, right? There's absolutely something that is coming to an end, probably in regards to your relationships, maybe even with like some of the activities that you like to do to make friends or to be with friends. Like one way that it's been put, one way that the 7th house was put that kind of helped me understand this was what time of day do you go to a concert? What time of day do you go to movies? What time of day do you go home to be with your loved ones? It's usually after the sun has passed this noon point. It's usually in the afternoon, and it's usually like as the sun is setting. So you don't normally go to a movie in the morning. It's usually in the evening, right? Most concerts are scheduled for like 7, 8, 9 p.m., right? So this is what this means, right? It's the house of pleasure in that regard, and the things you do with other people that are pleasurable. Okay, so anyway, Taurus, you're exploring deeper meanings of this house, and perhaps you are actually experiencing the fear of endings right now, right? Since this is in fact the house of endings, perhaps you're experiencing the fear of endings. Perhaps there is some relationship, or and it doesn't have to be romantic. Like I said, it can be close one-on-one friendships that need to come to an end, right? And you're experiencing the grieving and the fallout of that. Oh my goodness. All right, coming up here, Chaley, Mars, Pluto, Saturn are conjunct the Kazemi. Oh, Mars, Pluto, Saturn. Wow, and Chiron is opposing it, and Uranus and Jupiter. Woo, that's a lot going on that axis. That's pretty intense. So, am I reading that right? Chiron. You have Chiron in Taurus. Mars Saturn conjunction. Okay, so this is your Mars return as well then. Fair enough. What's your rising sign, Shaylee? Just out of curiosity. J-Lo, no time of day. J-Lo. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a powerful pile up in Scorpio, Mars, Pluto, and Saturn. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, not wanting to function. I'm just gonna validate that. Fair enough. Fair enough. Especially like, I don't know. It almost makes it worse once you start learning astrology and you start looking up at different transits, and you're like, okay, all right, what's going on? Oh, Mars Kazemi, that sounds kind of fun. And then you look at where it's falling, and it's like, oh, I have all the scary planets in in one place where this transit's taking place. Oh my god. Like, fair enough. Fair enough. That would make me a little bit anxious too. Oh, Virgo rising. Okay. Oh, I like rocks. You know I like rocks. You're Virgo rising. Okay, so this is happening in your third house. Okay, so something to kind of help you a little bit with this just before I move on here. And I gotta pull a card for Taurus, so don't let me forget. But something to kind of like ease this a little bit is keep in mind that the third house, while there are personal planets there, right? Mars and Saturn, and you can consider, I mean, Pluto's not personal, but that's fine. Um, and you have Jupiter in Taurus as well. Yeah, so there's definitely, it's lighting up the stellium in your chart, but it is in the third house. And the third house is a little bit less intense than the fourth or the first or the 10th or the seventh. So at the very least there's that, right? Like it is kind of an intense transit, and totally understand the not wanting to function, right? Like the third house has to do with your environment and your mindset, and how the two kind of correlate to each other. So yeah, I could see this bringing up an immense amount of fear and anxiety. So there's something there though for you, right? Like there's something there for you to release as far as your own fears and anxieties go. And maybe like there could be, and I could be wrong, but there could be a tendency for you to kind of like go get way too intellectual about what you're feeling and intellectualize stuff. And maybe this is an opportunity for you to try and let go of that tendency a little bit and sink into your body, right? Especially as a Virgo rising, you need to be in your body. Oh, bruh. Yeah, that's a pile up of gnarly. That's a pile up of gnarly transits for sure. Doing really, really simple things like going for walks to bring rocks back, like like Stacy's doing, or uh, oh, you got a Venus Lilith conjunction. Yep. Yeah, doing really, really simple things to get back into your body and find like pleasure in little activities and little things of self care is huge. Like, um, and like this goes for everybody, right? You don't have to be a Virgo rising. Just this amount of like Scorpio energy in the air, that's enough for anybody to kind of lose. Um, it's enough for anybody to be struggling, right? It doesn't matter what your astrology is. It's okay if you're struggling right now. So, yeah, make sure that you guys are doing the little things to take care of yourself that maybe you don't always do, right? Like a little bit of extra leave-in conditioner, or that's what I do. Or and with something like a Saturn Venus contact happening, do a little bit of extra Venusian stuff for yourself, right? Be disciplined about like taking care of your nails and, give yourself permission to paint a little bit, little things like that. They make a huge difference. All right, Taurus, what do we got for cards for you? So there's something you're releasing, Taurus, in regards to relationships in general, right? Specifically pleasurable relationships, because there's lots of different kinds of relationships, right? What is it that you're releasing? Okay. Fuck. Okay, so you guys got the Hangman. The Hanged Man. Okay, so the Hanged Man, who was in the deck upside down, of course he was. I always end up flipping him around by accident. Okay. There's a huge need to surrender to the process here. Okay. Especially with the Hangman coming out. There is stuff happening that is way outside of your control. You might be witnessing things happen in, loved people's lives totally outside of your control. This is about surrendering to the flow and allowing what is going to happen and then dealing with it as things arise. Okay. This is actually a very spiritual process. Just the act of acknowledging that there is some kind of higher power is deeply spiritual. It can be a really interesting shift for our ego to realize, hey, I'm not actually the master over this place. Wow. It's gnarly, and it's not even about necessarily like trying to stay positive. Like that can be good advice to kind of get us over certain humps. But we're in like the middle of Scorpio season on a Scorpio new moon with the moon so the moon does not like being in Scorpio. I mentioned that before, okay? The moon is exalted in Taurus and considered debilitated or depressed in Scorpio. So it is okay to be depressed. It is okay to feel those sad, gutted feelings, right? Like, especially if you're going through some kind of breakup. So thank you for mentioning that, Shaylee, because it's totally pertinent to the Taurus, to the bull tribe right now. If you're going through some kind of breakup or whatever, or if it becomes very obvious that you need to cut somebody off, this is a part of the process, right? Feeling into those deep, dark feelings. Keeping it positive and keeping it light can be helpful. Like I said, it can be helpful in certain situations, but this is not that kind of week. This is the kind of week where that would just be bypassing. And if we do that, if you just keep it light, just keep it superficial, just stay positive, you're robbing yourself of an opportunity to do some really deep spiritual work. That is what the Hangman is trying to get you to do. Okay, there's deep spiritual work that can happen here, but only if you're willing to surrender to the process and allow yourself to feel the scary, icky, not very lovely feelings. Okay, that is a part of life. Diving into the low really will help you to appreciate the highs. So that's what I have to say for you, Taurus. And by the way, once I finish Aries, I can do personal readings. And I'll be starting with Jack. And if Jack is still here, if you want to ask a question, please do ask a question. Or I can just pull a card and ask kind of like, what do you need to let go of, or what's the theme to be working on for this week. And after Jack, I will do Ariel. Oh, Ariel, I've got one of your candles lit right now, girl. It's so delicious. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so like real quick, JLo, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a fucking scam. Don't do it. So before I go to Aries real quick, just I'll come back to you, Chaley, for a second here. So that's two like major losses in a short amount of time, right? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're sick, Jack. Yeah, I'll pull some cards and see what comes out for you. Anyway, that's two major losses. So taking care of the little mini self-care things is not about like keeping a positive attitude. It's more just about showing yourself the love that you're craving from everybody else, right? Taking care of your physical body is huge and really kind of important for keeping our mental health kind of stable, right? And not even happy. Okay, I'm not even talking about making yourself happy. I'm just saying keep yourself fucking stable, okay? And that could be a challenge, right? That could be a huge challenge going through some like major losses. And the biggest piece of advice, other than what I've said already, is just to remind yourself that this too shall pass, right? Like you're going through some really intense transits right now. And I would be more than happy to dive into all of that if you wanted to get a reading. Um, but yeah, right now it's not about like staying positive, going to ascend to the 5D, guys. It's more about like, hey, this candle smells nice and makes me not want to fucking hurt myself. Like seriously, I laugh, but that's because I'm uncomfortable. And like just keeping up on like cooking good meals for yourself, doing really simple things like that, brushing your hair maybe just like a couple extra times in the day, right? Like it's really easy when we're feeling down to let little things like that slip and just like eat like crap, which makes you feel worse, or not take care of yourself, which makes you feel worse. So you're welcome, buddy. You fucking got this. Okay, Aries. Sorry, Aries. It felt important, okay? It felt important. And hey, Aries, don't complain. It's less than 3 hours, okay? So I don't want to hear it. All right. All right. Aries, 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 Aries. So for you guys, this fun little transit, new moon and the new Mars, so to speak, the Mars Kazemi is happening in the 8th house. Bum, ba, da, ba. So there are two houses in Hellenistic astrology that are called the idol places or the gate of Hades, and that's the 2nd and the 8th. What idol means, I didn't explain this in the second for Libra, so I apologize, Libra, but what they mean by idle doesn't mean that nothing happens, obviously, but it means that it's slow to develop. All right, so things in the 2nd and the 8th house are slow to develop. The 8th house is associated often with this anticipation of an ending, the fear and the anxiety around death. It is also associated with straight up just death, right? With weakness, with lethargy, which things that kind of bear us down. There is an energy of disruption in the 8th house. It is associated with inheritances, with benefits from others or through others dying, right? It can be associated with other people's resources or money or even esteem. Like this is a concept. I thought it was like just physical things, but other people's reputation and other people's other resources other than just their physical that can kind of help us in some way. Help us or hinder us, actually. It can be both. Like I said, fear, anxiety, penalties, fines, taxes, debts, karmic as well as physical. Like there's a lot going on in the 8th house that's not fun, okay? It's also the things that come after completion. Sometimes it is associated with the obligations that we have to other people. Right? There's quite a bit going on with 8th house. Yeah, say it out loud. You know what? Life is allowed to fucking suck, okay? Right? Life is allowed to suck. Um, Negative feelings are a part of life, right? We're in Scorpio season. Scorpio is a yin sign, right? It is not a pretty archetype. It is not a pretty archetype. And this process um, is not a pretty process, right? Yeah, Aries. If anybody here is an Aries rising, and you're experiencing this stuff going through the eighth house, like that is not a pretty list that I just gave you. Okay, it's not a pretty list. It's not a pretty topic, right? Like nobody wants to actually deal with um, the inheritances when someone passes away. Like that is a huge pain in the butt to deal with. It's pain in the butt, but it also like it sucks because like number one, you're dealing with a loved one that passed away. Okay, number one, you're dealing with the grief and the sorrow of that, and then on top of it all, you have to deal with these lawyers and the government to deal with their estate, and like that is a hugely emotional process in and of itself. Going through someone that just died, their things, like it sucks. Not fun. Um, but like that's not the point. The point isn't for it to be fun. The point is the transformation that's going on, right? The transfer of energy, right? So the new moon in the 8th, followed by the Mars Cazimi in the 8th. All of those topics could be coming up for you, right? In particular, the fear and the anxiety associated with um mortality, right? The awareness of our mortality. Yeah. So, be gentle with yourself while you're like going through this week, right? It's a slow process. I've said it a few times, but I'll say it again because I know some people just kind of jump to their sign. This is a slow process. Um, it's not something that's quick. So if these transits do trigger some things, right? Um, just keep in mind like this too shall pass, and this is a part of life, right? There's nothing that is wrong. Okay, there's nothing wrong with feeling negative feelings, or whatever. Feel those feelings. You're supposed to. And if you don't, right? If you bottle them up or just kind of bypass them and pretend that they're not there, we end up having what I personally like to call a shadow sneak attack. So a shadow sneak attack. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. A shadow sneak attack. So let's say Aries, anger. Let's say you struggle with your anger. Okay, maybe you're a little bit of a spicy individual. And maybe at one point in life you were told, oh, 333. Maybe at one point in life you were told, hey, your anger is inappropriate. Maybe you've been told, you're too much. That's a big one. Or you need to deal with your anger in some way, right? Like, especially Aries, you guys are spicy. 333 with 9 in the chat. That's kind of cool. All right, so let's play this scenario out, okay? So you grew up, especially if you were a female, okay? Girls in particular were told that we're not allowed to be angry, all right? Or our anger is like inappropriate, or we're just not allowed to be angry. We have to be nice, right? Have you ever heard that? Gotta play nice. But if someone crosses your boundaries, anger is an absolutely valid and perfectly acceptable response. You have to protect your boundaries. So now, as an adult, let's say you're an adult and you were a child and you were told that your anger's not okay. Now, as an adult, you like pretend that you're not angry. This is something that feeds your shadow, okay? So you feed your shadow with this anger, like, no, I'm just a good girl. I'm nice. I don't get angry at people. Meanwhile, you're actually fucking seething. Then you have what I like to call a shadow sneak attack, where all of a sudden you kind of act out And it comes like sideways. It comes out fucking sideways. It's never direct. It's like all of a sudden you're doing really passive aggressive things and you don't mean to be, or you make some comments and you can't even stop yourself from making those comments. I'm talking about me, by the way. This is me. You make some comments that are like off the wall and really inappropriate, and you didn't really mean to make them, but you did because you've been burying your anger and it like just kind of like comes uncorked. I forget where the fuck I was going with this. Oh yeah, so don't bottle your negative emotions because it creates these egregores. Basically, it straight up creates these egregores. These these shadow things, and a lot of the times when we're experiencing things like psychic attack or a lot of the times when we're experiencing something like psychic attack or whatnot, it's actually it's actually not anybody else that's projected that energy towards us. It's coming from ourselves. And it's because we have taken our negative emotions and bottled them up and pushed them to the side and disassociated from them. So anyway, Aries, I swear this ties in. Deal with your fear and your anxiety as it arises. All right, this week there might not be anything in particular that's major that comes up, right? Like you could have a week where it's like nothing crazy happens, there's no negative feelings, and you're just dealing with like some debts that you incurred, right? Or it could be as boring and as mundane as that. It's like the collections company gives you a call and it's like, yo, you owe $1,000. See you, J-Lo. So that won't apply for all of you, right? But for some of you, like this is absolutely the energy of something that you thought you disassociated from and you thought was like taken care of and like, you maybe forgot about, comes up and like presents itself to you as like, hey, you actually need to deal with me. And that can be a debt, that can be the IRS calls you up, or if you're in Canada, the CRA calls you up and like, yo, you actually owe like $400 from last year, and by the way, we're not giving you any further benefits until you pay this back or whatever. It could be something as simple and as mundane as that, or it can be much more deep and much more intense emotionally. Kind of depends. And sometimes financial things are super emotional to deal with. Okay, so Aries, you actually got 2 cards. You got the Knight of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. So the question is, oh, mice are annoying. Mice are so annoying. You gotta defend your territory, okay? You must defend your territory, right? Because they bring disease and will get into your food. Fuck that. Sorry, Aries. Got distracted. So the question is, what are you releasing? What are you letting go of? It seems to me that you could actually be with this week, ending some cycle that you've been in for quite a while. Maybe this cycle has to do with, the kinds of relationships that you get into and how deeply connected those relationships get, especially Scorpio on the 8th. It could very well be that, like, you have a tendency to get into really enmeshed relationships. This is the cycle that could be coming to an end. I like seeing the Wheel of Fortune come out because this can be in relation to a karmic debt that you have that you're finally putting an end to, right? Thus, the relationship pattern. This could be in relation to, maybe actually For some of you, it could be the opposite. Maybe you're not putting an end to some kind of cycle, but perhaps you are actually experiencing, like, you're receiving some kind of major inheritance because someone has left this particular incarnation, right? Somebody passes away and you experience kind of like a bit of a windfall, or maybe not for all of you, but perhaps some of you. Um, a Knight of Cups. I want to say that kind of want to say that, like, if if you're presented with an opportunity for some kind of, say, relationship, or since we're talking about the 8th house, some kind of deal, some kind of like, I don't know, somebody else comes in, they're like, hey, I have some resources for you to use. You can use my money. I've got some, like, I have the means necessary, right? I've got the means necessary. We can do this together. But they come in like super quick. This is the Knight of Cups. He comes in like super quick. And it's like, I've got the answer to all your woes, all your worries. You'll never need to worry again. Be very, very cautious about that, and test that relationship. Test that his words. Watch his actions before agreeing to anything. So you might find that, like, it could be really tempting. Just bring it back to the decan real quick here. It could be really tempting to go for the easy, quick fix when that's not at all the correct option. Or it won't give you the best outcome. Right? Just to remind you. Because this is the decan where everything is happening in, right? Right. So this could be part of that illusion. All right. Especially if they're promising way more, or it seems like it's, again, too good to be true. I know I said that last week with some other stuff, but there's a pattern here that you need to be aware of. And because this lunation and this upcoming Mars Cazimi is more about releasing and surrendering to something, I think that the easy option, the quick option, is probably not the way to go. And that's probably part of what you are learning to let go of this week. So don't go for the easy option, Aries, or the quick option. It's there's something about it that will kind of like keep you trapped in a cycle that you don't want to be a part of. Okay. So that is the signs. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so now I got you, Jack. Thank you so much. The super chat is a new function for me, and let me take the banner down. The super chat is a new function for me, so I'm kind of testing it out to see if it's a good thing or not. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so you said you were really sick, so I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. That's better. Okay. It felt too dark and dingy. I missed the sunlight. All right, so I'll pull a card for good old Jack here. What does Jack need to hear most on this new moon in Scorpio? What do you need to hear about most? Ooh, the High Priestess. Oh, what a good card. Okay, Jack. the High Priestess. Let me tell you about this lovely character. So the High Priestess is encouraging you to tap into your yin, feminine, intuitive side. Okay, so I'm assuming you're male. I don't know, but with a name like Jack, I'm gonna assume here. But anyway, this is not like, oh, go be a girl for a bit. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that when it comes to the body, right, feeling into the body and feeling into the dream space and being in touch with your emotions, like how good are you with those things? I often find when we are sick, when our body is ill, and we're, whatever kind of sickness it is, like I don't know. I don't know what it is, right? Obviously I have no idea. But there's a really nice opportunity kind of opens itself up for us in that moment to connect with the feminine, to connect with your body. So while you're going through this, sucks, hopefully it resolves itself quickly here, but while you're going through this, take some time to maybe listen to some kind of meditations. Now, not meditations that send you on a journey. The point isn't to go journey, the point is to go within, especially in the Scorpio season, okay? So instead of like listening to like a sleep journey that takes you on like a crazy wild ride and it's all about like visualizing different places, listen to some meditations that take you into the body. So they'd be like mindfulness, body-based meditations. I'm not sure what you would type in, but I'm sure you could find some on YouTube where it's like, essentially the meditation goes into like, okay, feel into your toes, feel into your feet, feel into your ankles, feel into your calves, and you slowly work up your body, bringing your awareness, your psychic awareness, to those individual body parts. And you might discover some really interesting stuff, especially as you're like trying to purge, right? Whatever the sickness is that you're dealing with is while you're trying to purge. Use this as like an opportunity of discovery, right? So, yeah. And I think on a new moon, perfect time to do that exact thing, right? The moon is still dark. This would be like literally an ideal kind of day for doing exactly that kind of work. And you never know. Sometimes physical illness is tied to some emotional stuff that's going on at the same time. And almost always it's tied to something that's energetic that's going on in our auric field as well. So you could also do the same kind of thing with like some kind of sound healing sessions. Like if you wanted to listen to like some like sound singing bowls or something like that. Hi, Ariel. Yeah. Thank you, Ariel. I'm about to pull your cards too, so don't go too far. But anyway, you could do some sound healing type stuff. But while you're listening, try not to drift off and try to tap into literally your physical body, because that is really what the High Priestess is trying to like get you to do, is tap into the feminine side of things. And that's the fastest way through, is through your body. Okay. Everybody, remember to hit that like. And I appreciate you. Okay. So yeah, let me know how that resonated for you, Jack. And yeah, I hope you heal up in the time that you're meant to heal up. Okay. Okay, Ariel. Hey, girl, hey. Which one am I even burning right now? So Ariel makes these really cool soy candles in these like cute little metal pots. They have a really nice like strong but not overpowering scent, and the perfume used is not like a chemical perfume. Oh, I did. Oh, hey, Jack. Good to see you, buddy. I forgot about that. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, dude. You're welcome. Okay. Fuck, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the candle is so nice. It smells so lovely. Okay. All right, so Ariel wants to know what the stars reflect for me right now. Okay, cool. I'll pull some cards for you, girl. I got you, girl. Um, yeah, let me shuffle it up. Yeah. Yeah, dude, they're delicious. And they're not overpowering. And because you use like natural scents, and like good quality scent oils, like they often like scented candles give me headaches, but these ones don't, so they're really nice. You have to put the pot on something that is okay that it gets hot though. That bitch will burn. Okay. Oh, hey Colette. What a good question. How are we to navigate people who are affected negatively by the new moon? Ooh, that's a really good question. Okay, hold on. Let me pull some cards for Ariel here. Um and then I'll see if I can answer that. Okay, so 3 cards for Ariel. What does she need to hear? Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I would like to hear about how you handled it in the moment. Ooh, Ariel, the Lovers just came out. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, there it is. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so Ariel, heavy on the Mercury theme. Heavy, heavy, heavy on the Mercury theme for some reason. Okay, so bam, bam, bam. So Ariel, we got the Lovers, which is the major arcana card for Gemini, number 6. We got the Ten of Swords, which is the last decan of Gemini. Okay. And then we got the Hermit, which is Virgo, and number 9. So 6, 10, 9. Mercury, Mercury, Mercury. All right. Lovers, Ten of Swords, Hermit. Oh, 10 is your life path number? That's cool. Okay, well, the Ten of Swords speaks to needing to end something or feeling like things are coming to an end. The Hermit card is encouraging you to see, again, the big theme today, the big theme with all of my streams, I'm going to be perfectly honest, is to go back into the body. But the theme with the Hermit is really to like ask, like, how are you coping right now spiritually and emotionally, right? And do you have like a solid spiritual practice that you do day after day, um that helps you connect and like anchor spirit into the body, right? The Lovers card is interesting. Okay, so Lovers, Gemini, it's actually about dividing rather than bringing together. It's about dividing, mirroring, seeing opposing viewpoints, right? Especially the two Gemini things, seeing opposing viewpoints and maybe even like Um, I almost feel like there is. Yeah, Katsu, I got it. Thank you. Um, yeah, so I'll do yours next. So okay, so there's a big Gemini Mercury theme for you right now, Ariel. Um, when it comes to discussions with your partner or with friends or when you do your live stream stuff, which I haven't seen you stream in a little bit, so I don't know what's going on, but when it comes to like the debates and the conversations that you have, um, how easy is it for you to like ask questions and be curious about what's happening on the other side of things? But when you do so, do you feel like that negates your own perspective? Or is there something there about like, I don't know, this is really striking to me right now. Um, like I just get the sense that you're experiencing some gnarly stuff. Yeah, girl, I've noticed the hermit. I've noticed the hermit mode. There's nothing wrong with the hermit mode. Um, Nothing wrong with the hermit mode. Especially if it helps you feel like you can maintain your own sense of self. Like if that's what you need to do to maintain your sense of self, then do it. So hold on, let me kind of like contemplate this for a second because these are kind of intense cards. Yeah, when it comes to your like friendships and other relationships, I'm gonna pose this as an if then. If something were to come to an end, would you be okay? Mm. If you are presented with some kind of argument, are you able to intellectually explore the other side without feeling like your sense of self or your psychic integrity is intact, or does it feel like I say you feel like you're getting pushed back, so does it feel like you're getting bulldozed by others with different perspectives? And if that's the case, then the hermit card is asking you to sit with that a little bit. Like I don't know if you caught earlier, but I was talking a little bit about how um, whenever we're presented with something and it's different from what we believe, which is fine. It's a good thing to challenge our beliefs. But if you feel really reactive to it in that moment and like you absolutely have to like attack or defend or whatever, there is something emotional that's underpinning the belief or underpinning the discussion. And the Hermit card is coming out to ask you to sit with that and kind of dive into why the reactivity is there, or why. And if that's not the case, like if you're not getting reactive about anything, then that's fine. You don't need to worry about that. But um, there is something here about whenever there's some kind of like challenge, at least in one particular situation, then it feels like there's like an ending or like a death or like a part of you diminishes almost. You know what I mean? And girl, you're making goddamn candles. You should not be diminished at all ever. And like, look at that. That's you with your little candle. That's you with your little candle. Um, so maybe this hermit thing is actually like a really positive thing for you right now. Because I kind of see you like in the shadows, which is fine, but like cultivating your own stuff, right? Oftentimes when we feel, yeah, right, that's your little candle right there. Um, oftentimes when we find ourselves in scenarios and relationships with people where it feels like we're not allowed to have our own opinion or our opinion doesn't matter or whatever the case may be, going stepping back a little bit and like cultivating your own stuff, your own interests, taking care of your own self, making sure that your stuff is good and solid is a really natural response, and can like help you cultivate that greater sense of self and that healthier sense of self, so that the next time you need to push back against somebody, or the next time that similar debate comes up, if there is a disagreement, it doesn't shatter your sense of self and it doesn't shatter your own like stability. Does that make sense? Yeah, and that is okay, right? That is okay. Um, yeah. Uh, Okay, good. Good. Good, 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 good. And we could talk about, you can message me after if you want to talk about it a little bit more. Um, cuz I'm sure like yeah, I'm sure there's details that it's like not appropriate for a public tarot stream, so that's okay. Um, yeah. Anyway, love you. So, don't be afraid to reach out. Um, especially if you know that like there are people that you can gain support from. Like the hermit thing is fine. Like do your thing, cultivate your shit, do your art, whatever. But at the same time, don't forget that you're actually not alone. Okay, there's people that are around you that are more than happy to offer support or guidance, and you just got some guidance, so that's great. But yeah, girl, with arms wide open. I love that song. Yeah. So message received. There are always people there for support if you need it. You don't have to do it alone, and that is my message for you. Okay. Okay, now we have a fun one to do. Ooh. So, Katsu Suki, aka Phoenix. I forget what the rest of your YouTube name is. Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising. Um, Thank you so much, by the way, for the last few videos of putting up the timestamps of when different signs start. I should be doing that, but I hate doing that. So I really, seriously, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. Phoenix rules. That's what it is. I'm like, Phoenix Rising? Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that you've been doing that for me for the last little bit. It makes me smile. I'm like, oh, yay. Someone cares enough. Uh, okay, so I'm going to pull up your chart. Um, so what she asked was when to expect something fun in the future. Okay, I will do my best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at her chart real quick and see if I can find a fun transit coming up. 6, 7, 8, so August. A fun transit coming up. And I don't need to put it on the screen. But with your permission, I would like to, but I don't have to. So you let me know if that's okay or not. Some people are cool with that, some people are not. I feel weird about sharing my chart because it's fucking crazy. Oh, okay. Right. Jupiter, Mars in Scorpio. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, you were born right after a new moon. That's cool. Yeah, you don't mind. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, this too shall pass. So let's see if we can find some nice stuff coming up for you. Okay, so I'm gonna bring your chart up, and then I'm gonna open up the transit wheel. So this is what I mean. You were born right after a new moon. So the night, as soon as the sun went down after you were born, the very first crescent of the new moon was probably visible right on the horizon. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so anyway, transit chart. Okay. All right. So this is a fun request. What are some things to look forward to? So actually right now you have a kind of a cool thing going on with Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter moving through the 7th house, I wouldn't necessarily qualify it as quote unquote fun, but that is really nice. This is like Jupiter going through the 7th house, and then once he actually like connects with your descendant there, like exact, and I can scroll forward to figure out exactly when that is in a moment. That's like the the opportunity opens for you to meet new people that you can either connect closely one on one with, and it could potentially maybe be like a romantic kind of thing that comes in, or the possibility of romance coming in, which is kind of cool because Jupiter is a benefic planet, and Jupiter's actually considered on the day team. So you have a daytime chart. So the major benefic for you is Jupiter, and the major malefic is Saturn. So what that means is Saturn's effects aren't as bad, quote unquote, aren't as bad, but Mars is more troublesome. And Jupiter brings more benefit. Venus still brings benefit, but just not as much. Okay, so anyway, so Jupiter, your major benefic or your of sect benefic, reaching your descendant, definitely going to help bring in the opportunity for meeting people that can like, help bring some pleasure and some fun to your life. So I really like to see that. Also, just kind of a side note, now that the eclipses are moving away from this axis and they're moving onto this axis, the Aries Libra axis, some of the pressure that you've been experiencing with the eclipses is going to calm down quite a bit, right? Because now they're moving out of an angular house, the 1st and 7th, and moving into what are these called? Cadent houses. Cadent, I believe, is the term for them. Cadent or succeedent? Succeedent houses. So it takes a lot of the pressure off, right? So anyway, so that's one thing that's kind of cool. You already had the Jupiter opposition. Now you're Jupiter opposite Mars. So, oh, and Colette asked a question. Okay, hold on. Okay, I've starred your question, Colette. I will come back to it after I talk about Sarah's chart here. I come back to the comments. "28 hours of labor, first baby. Dang, girl. Wow, okay, that's wild. I'm going to work through these comments one by one here. So what's kind of interesting about that is the first house, and often, so where the ascendant falls, 15 degrees Scorpio, this represents literally the moment of birth, right? So baby's head crowning. Depending on what hospital you were born in, what like that staff's practices, sometimes they put the time down as when the baby crowns. Sometimes it's when the whole baby is out. Like it totally depends on the hospital, but regardless, that meant that whatever time they put down, 12, whatever, um, Jupiter and Mars had risen above the horizon. And this represents like the labor that your mom went through, right? So a prolonged Jupiter kind of intense labor, Mars, yeah. That speaks to that for sure. Okay, what else do you say? Still working on a divorce and bankruptcy. Yeah, Saturn is exalted in Libra, Working on it. What's up, Logan? You're super late, but that's cool. Oh, you're a veteran? Okay. I'm sorry for your service. Okay. You got a lot going on. Okay, so working on divorce and bankruptcy stuff. Got a settlement from the VA. They decided what you were worth to them. Fascinating. Okay. Back to the transit chart. So, settlements and getting settlements. That's interesting. Honestly, I would have expected that to be like an eighth house kind of thing, but maybe Mercury in the second is kind of like this is what you get, or a decision about what you get based on stuff that happened in a foreign land kind of thing. Anyway, okay, so let's see. Let's scroll forward a little bit. So I'm looking for something a little bit more fun. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Jupiter squaring Venus will be nice too. So the thing about Jupiter, this looks nice. So the thing about Jupiter, so actually Jupiter's been going kind of back and forth over this point of squaring off with your Venus and then trining your moon. So the thing about Jupiter is Jupiter brings opportunities, and even a square with Jupiter, even though a square is considered to be kind of like a more difficult aspect, it doesn't look nice. They give it a bright red color, right? So it's kind of like, ooh, it looks kind of gnarly. Even a square with Jupiter, because of the nature of Jupiter, is not necessarily a negative or bad thing. Hold on, I want to bring up. Okay, so you're in a Mars year right now. So sixth house Mars year. All right, so straight up, this year not gonna feel very nice. Okay, until your next birthday. And I already forget when your birthday is. August. Okay, so next August. All right. Okay. So right now, the the biggest reason why you probably aren't noticing the Jupiter in the seventh at the moment is because you're in a Mars ruled Aries year. Okay, so sixth house year. So what I just looked up basically was called a profection. So this is kind of cool. So every year of your birth, this is a timing technique in Hellenistic astrology. Okay, so every year of your birth, your chart profects one house at a time, one sign at a time, and you get for 1 year what is called a time lord. So a new time lord every year. So this year, in addition to Mars being the signifier for your chart as the chart ruler, it is also your time lord. So any major transits happening to your natal Mars and any transits with regular old Mars will have a larger impact on you than any of the other transits. Okay, just by the nature of it being an Aries Mars year. So sixth house themes have a lot to do with, well, let me bring back up my thing here. Sixth house is the house of bad fortune, right? So you said you're dealing with bankruptcy and a divorce and all of this crap. Well, the sixth house has to do with conflict and war and enemies and hostility and hard work and labor and farming and endless drudgery and really lovely stuff like that. So with all of that said, there's a reason why this year kind of feels shitty. But also, there's some really nice hope there with the fact that Mars is going through its rebirth cycle now, right? Mars is going through its rebirth cycle. Whoop. I already scrolled past it. It's rebirth cycle in the first house. So it's kind of like the reset button is being hit, right? Next year, after your birthday in August, you'll be in a seventh house Taurus Venus ruled year. All right, so let's scroll forward. Let's look at that. Dun, 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 dun. So basically what I'm saying is like hang on for the rest of this year. It's not that it's going to be shitty the entire time, but it's not like a majorly fun year. A lot of it will be focused for like until your birthday on improving your health and taking back your power, right? Mars and Scorpio, taking back your power and um doing doing different practices and maybe being, maybe trying to be disciplined about what can help improve your physical health and stuff like that. I'm 1 week at a time. What am I doing? Okay. Okay. Oh, by the time your birthday rolls around, Jupiter will be in Gemini. That's too bad, but still, Venus. Okay, so around just like a week or so before your birthday, you've got some nice Venus transits going on. One more. That's pretty close. Let's do one more week. Too far. Just going to your birthday next year. Come back. Oh, hell yeah. I do remember. Oh, your spouse was the vet. Right. I do remember that. Yes. I freaking love Gemini Brett. He's the fucking best. I love that guy. Dude, that's awesome. So that's wild. That's so crazy. So you had some like really crazy shit going on, right? And then as soon as it came to light and when it was revealed, it's like you physically lost in a it's like the physical mirrored the emotional. And I'm sure maybe some of that was probably related to like stress too, I'm sure, but it's like the physical stuff shed as the emotional stuff was shedding. So that's really cool, and that's wild that that happened right before your birthday. Um but yeah, Gemini Brett was a hugely impactful teacher for me, so that's really cool. And yeah, I look forward to doing your 42nd year birthday reading. That'll be fun. Um, yeah. Yeah, no, I remember talking to you. Okay. Yeah, okay, so as far as fun things go, um, well, you can have fun under any kind of crazy transit, but I will say that like your birthday, once you get into August, things will ease up significantly because you'll be transitioning from a Mars year, which is kind of a crazy Mars, into a Venus year, right? And you have a really nicely placed Venus. Um, so just that transition, definitely there's lots to look forward to with that. Um, Other kind of like fun things I see going on. I mean, Venus moving through your first house um will be interesting. I wouldn't say it's necessarily fun. Venus and Scorpio, so that'll be like in a month. Gotta go back. Gotta go back. Whoops, not 9 years. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to when Venus ingresses into Scorpio. Venus moving through the first house, regardless of the sign, can be like a really nice opportunity for a really nice glow up. Um, and also, that's really cool. I'd be curious to know when. Yeah, yes. I'd be curious to know like when he was incarcerated. Um, because there's like this this archetype of Saturn in Libra of like, no, there will be justice. It, there will be some people that won't like the justice, but there will be justice. Anyway, Libra moving through here, great, it's fine, but it's your 12th house, so not really something that you can feel necessarily. But then Venus moving through your first house will be kind of a little bit lighter, um, especially as she connects with your Jupiter and then kind of like eases the Mars energy too. Um, dun 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 dun. Yeah, I think that's. I don't know. I think Venus and Sag is a fun energy, and that'll be in your second house. Let's kind of move forward to that as well. Let's go. When I think fun, I think Mercury, Venus. So that's why I'm looking at those two specifically. And like I said, you can have fun under any transit. It's sometimes the astro weather helps. Yeah, okay, so it'll be a nice visible Venus in the second house. That could be interesting for using some of the funds that you got to like kind of better your financial situation, beautifying the place a little bit. And you still got Jupiter in the 7th, bringing more opportunities for like closing the chapter and just closing out that last chapter that you guys are coming through. Yeah, so if you wanted, it'd be interesting. When we sit down for your birthday reading, we can look at things like those specific dates if you want, and that's up to you. But yeah, it'd be kind of interesting just to look at the transits that were impacting your chart in that moment. Okay, Colette had a really good question. How do you navigate people that are affected negatively by this new moon? Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. Okay, so and you gave a great scenario. Word. Okay, so she had an unanticipated encounter with somebody that is clearly emotionally manipulative, right? So let's say you've got somebody that you're living with or is a friend or, whatever, and they are experiencing like all of the depression of the moon in Scorpio and they're really going through some like really tough stuff. Or maybe they're like lashing out, they could be like emotionally reactive, like whatever the case may be. Number one, the first thing to do is to find your center. So what do I mean by that? Well, ground down. There's a number of different tools you can use for this, but the number one thing is to make sure that you're in your body. Okay, so some things that I like to do for a long time, I used to carry around with me like a big rock crystal. And it was just something that I would grab out of my pocket, like especially if I was like out and about and I couldn't necessarily just smudge. That's one of my favorite that's one of my favorite things. But so I would grab something that could like help remind me to just bring myself back into my body, right? So if it was like a nice cold rock, I like put it on my face or something like that. And maybe like in the moment while you're talking to somebody, you don't have the opportunity to do that. But I like to carry around something, or for a long time I did carry around something like this, so I could just reach into my pocket and grab it if I was feeling ungrounded in any way. Scents are very powerful to help bring you back into your body. Any kind of physical sensation, basically. So, like, you could like rub your pants. Carry pro tip: carry crystals. You yo, obsidian, obsidian, onyx, jet, all those black crystals. They're very powerful for blocking off negative energy in particular, but sometimes all energy. So just be mindful about when where you're carrying it. But yeah, like a black crystal, really helpful. But literally just having something to touch that's cool to the touch or warm to the touch, that's like something other than your body temperature. That's one of my number one things. Having a little bottle of essential oil like peppermint or something like that, peppermint or lavender. Lavender is nice and soothing. So grabbing something like that, taking a minute to like drink some water. These are really, really simple. These are really, really simple things, but are very powerful for just bringing yourself back into your body. So that's number one. So number one, get grounded. You can put your feet flat on the ground. A powerful visualization that I like to do. Tiger iron, nice. Tiger iron sounds badass. One of the number one visualizations I like to do personally is I'll picture a root growing out of my like spine and going down into the ground to the center of the earth and absorbing all of the nice warm goodness down there and coming back up. So couple of things like that. So these things do a couple of things. Number one, it helps you to be more level-headed so that you can respond rather than react, especially if someone is getting in your face and is being, maybe they're really triggered or whatever the case may be, or they're trying to manipulate you. So get centered, get grounded, kind of like center yourself. Next thing you can do is one of my favorite tricks actually is to visualize a mirror that's facing them. Okay, so the visualization of the mirror bounces their energy back to them, and sometimes like it's not conscious, but it's not conscious. It's not conscious. Oh my god, I can't speak. But they will. They'll either change their behavior or leave you alone because there's something about that is repelling. Like if their behavior is repulsive, having that bounced back to them is repulsing, and they might even like literally leave you alone, or sometimes their behavior will alter because they realize what they sound like. And if that is not working, then a couple of other things you could do. Like let's say you're in an environment where you cannot remove yourself. So the number one thing you could do is literally like just get the fuck out of there. But if you can't, like let's say it's a boss or a coworker or a family member or something like that, and you can't just leave, and you feel like they're trying to tap into your energy field, like they're trying to hook into you in some way, one way that you can protect your energy, other than doing all the stuff that I just talked about, is lace your fingers like this and cross your ankles and close off your energy field. Okay, so closing off your energy field in this way, it makes it so that they cannot hook into you in any way. Okay, so those are a couple of tips. If you're feeling extra spicy or like so let's say the encounter is over, you managed it as best as you could, but there's like this lingering like stickiness or ickiness. Take a shower, running water, quite literally, running water will neutralize any electric charge. What's up, Nathan? Will neutralize any electric charge and help clear your energy field. That's what I do after readings. If I'm not going out or doing something, I'll like literally just fucking shower. Never underestimate the power of salt. Doing a salt scrub is super powerful, especially if you do it in the shower, right? Because then you've got crystals, the salt, and then they're running water, and it's a really powerful combo to pull off other people's energy from you. What else can you do? Those are some basics. And then, of course, you can always smudge. You can always say a prayer. Never underestimate the power of a prayer. Like, hey, I'm going into this scenario. Could use some assistance from God, guardian angels, whatever it is that you pray to. I like going to the big one, you know. There's, yeah, I think that's a whole list of tips and pointers. If you, yeah, those are the big ones. So I guess the strategy you might use will likely shift depending on what kind of scenario you're in. But those are my go-tos, and usually in that order, like okay, ground. All right, now I'm going to like say bounce their energy back to them, and then make sure that I'm grounded and I'm centered, so that it's harder for me to be pushed off balance. And then if I feel like they're trying to hook into me, then I'll do like close my energy field off, and then like I like to build a brick wall as well. That's another one that I like to do. I'll like literally brick, 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 brick. That's a good one. Yeah, and then like from there you can explore other like different banishment rituals and stuff like that, but I don't think those are always necessary unless you're really dealing with some really gross energy. But yeah, start with those things. So, okay, cool. Let me check my email one more time, and then I've got to go. A couple of weeks ago, somebody sent me an email to my Proton email, so I'm gonna just check that real quick. Nope. Okay. Perfect. Sweet. Okay, you guys. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate you guys very much. Great questions. Love the questions. Those are really cool to answer. Yeah, let me know how this week goes for you. Feel free to come back and leave a comment, like if something if it's like, wow, okay, this thing really resonated, come back and let me know. I really love reading those comments. Yeah, have a magical moon day. All right, you guys, peace out. Bye bye.